Evil Squid Comics Podcast, episode 18.
18. Season 2, 18.
Season 2, 18. I'm Drew.
I'm Don.
I'm Scott.
And we get together every couple weeks and we talk about comic books and anything else that is interesting to us. Politics. No, not really. We talk about movies and TV shows.
They still make those things?
Yeah, I think so.
At least the TV shows they do, huh?
Yeah, at least TV shows. Movies they make, just nobody goes to see them.
Well, that does sound like the case, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they started up the new season of Fargo.
I heard it's horrible.
It's only 2 episodes. I don't know how it's horrible.
Well, everybody says it sucks.
Well, people don't know what they're talking about.
All right, cool. I'm glad you like it.
Did you ever watch any of the other ones?
I watched the first season.
Yeah. This one I don't get,
Never
though.
watched any of them.
This one I don't get, though, because it's set in 1950 and it's in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I don't know what that has to do with Fargo.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't think Fargo has anything to do with Fargo anymore, right?
I don't remember. I know the first one.
The first season kind of felt like a rehash
of
the movie, but like longer and more convoluted. And
was
then
that the one with Billy Bob Thornton?
Yeah. So that one, but I never watched the second one. But it sounded like it was just a crime show at that point.
Yeah,
like it's not really Fargo anymore.
It's a really good show.
But I heard the second season was really good. I just never got around to watching it.
They're all pretty good,
but this new one is getting pretty bad reviews, I guess you could say.
I don't know.
But if you dig it,
I
that's
enjoyed
great.
the first 2 episodes.
And, what the hell do critics know anyway?
Not much.
So did you get a new copy of Modern Art? Is that why you're bringing it?
Yes, yeah. Simon Games actually made a version of it. And I actually put it in order at Miniature Market because of the fact that they had a bunch of stuff on clearance. And there were a couple of things that interest me. So the Modern Art was something I needed to put my order over that $100 limit to get the free shipping.
Yeah.
But I mean, hell, so it wasn't on clearance, but it still wasn't all that much. And plus, I remembered the game and playing it before, and I was like, it's Kinza. It can't be that bad. And I remember liking it, and it's an auction type thing. Typical type stuff. I mean, the rules on that thing are like 4 pages, if that. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But it looks like there's a lot of depth in it from a auction game perspective.
Sure.
So.
I remember when we used to meet at like Prairie Dog with like Marshall, and you guys played it a few times, but I was always in like a different
group there.
A group. I never played Modern Art.
Yeah, because Marshall at the time really liked that game, and I still think it's solid. I think the biggest problem I even owned it at one time, but I never even opened it because of the fact that it has a weird player count. It's one of those ones especially in that era, it seemed like every game that we found that we really liked was like 3 to 5 players. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't play, that 6, type thing. Yeah. And you couldn't play just, with the wife or whatever else, your significant other, type thing. You needed to have that certain amount. And of course, some of those even played at a better, at that, like maybe 5 was like the prime spot, or 4 or something like this. And Modern Art's the same way. It's 3 to 5, and I bet you, looking at it, it probably plays at its best probably at the 5.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now everybody wants their game to be solo play.
Oh, they do. You're exactly.
I'm like,
right.
what the hell? It's a board game. Why?
Yeah.
If you're gonna play solo, play a video game, man. I mean, that's the whole point.
Well, it's because we're in quarantine. Hell, half these people.
No, this was before quarantine.
That is true.
People were obsessed with solo. It's like people don't have friends. It's like, I don't play board games. I don't have any friends. Well, I really want this game to be solo.
Most of the time, the people that are playing board games are pretty nerdy. And
that's true.
And they probably don't have a lot
of friends. But that's why board games are great, because you play it with other nerdy people, and then you don't feel quite so introverted and socially isolated.
That is true.
Unless you're sitting in your basement playing your game solo.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really make a lot of sense. That's why I had children, so I had somebody to play board games with all the time.
I burned mine out.
I know,
none of them want to play games with me anymore.
Well, they're older too now.
Except for maybe Isabel.
Maybe you'll have grandkids someday.
Oh, gosh. I'll totally do it different now.
So. You can totally just burn them out on board games.
No, I won't.
No?
Nope.
You'll pace yourself better?
Learned my lesson.
What did you learn? Bestow the wisdom.
Bestow the wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, part of my problem, don't burn them out, but part of my problem always is the fact that I'm, especially, back when I had kids, freaking, in that age type things, go back a decade and whatnot.
Sure.
But I'm a really competitive person in general. And so while I didn't say I just sit there and bam, smash down, I beat you, type things and tear up the kids. I would play, say, different strategies, but of course I'm still older than them.
Yeah.
So I would try different things, but at the end, oh, you lost by a point, I would still win, type thing.
Gotcha.
I'd keep it close, but at
win.
the end I would beat them. And so, but on the flip side, while my kids, I think, hate some games for that, every freaking one of them is are pretty good at strategy, logical thinking, somewhat competitive, too, and things of that nature. And of course now, whenever I play a game with them, their whole goal is beat dad, which of course they can now.
Yeah.
Now it's, but so as a father, I'm very proud of them. Sure. I'm just disappointed the fact that they don't like the games anymore, type things. And part of it may be, like you said, they're in that teenage to early 20s where there's all sorts of other shiny things to do and look at and whatever else. And, playing games like that, it's kind of slowing things down, and it's spending time, which to a point, it seems like, especially Isabel, if I can slow her down to play, she enjoys it. She has fun, type things. Yeah. Xander is a little bit more wishy-washy. I can't tell for sure. I think he does it just so that he's spending time with me and trying to divert my attention to some other conversation. But overall, he'll play them from here and there. And he does have some that he still enjoys, type things that are a little bit more maybe quicker play, but yet he's weird. He likes these games in which he feels every single decision has a true purpose, type stuff. He doesn't like the luck, type stuff much either. But yet he likes raw the dice game, but I think that's because it's quick. So there's luck in there. So I don't know. It's just don't do what I did. So
okay, I don't.
Let him win.
Don't know what's got. Don't let him win. Well, I can't even beat Zach half the time, and if I go out of my way and make sure I beat him, if Christy's playing with us, then she'll beat both of us because I'm focusing too much on beating him.
Oh, I'm beating him. Yeah.
But like that Coloma game we played quite a few times with Zach, Christy, and I.
Yeah.
And the first time I played it, I beat them both. And then I don't think I've been able to beat Zach since. Like, wow. I don't know what about that game that I cannot figure out that he can see it or something. He just sees the big picture. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'll change my strategies up. And whatever I change it to, he's got it, like, a different strategy to, like,
Yeah, overcome that. That's good. It's good.
I don't even know how he does it.
He's probably watching a bunch of YouTube videos on it.
I don't think so. On Coloma, probably not. It's probably obscure.
That game. Yeah.
Oh, but I'm sure that it's out there.
Yeah.
In one way or another, those things.
But yeah, it's funny when they were little, you'd have to like kind of like hold back or whatever, Yeah. Now it's like, dude, I'm scrambling just to even stay competitive at this point. So
it was funny though when we were big into the Star Wars Destiny, type things, and that was kind of fun with him because it kind of got him more exposed to a competitive gaming scene because I took him to Hero Complex, a couple times, and stuff. So while he didn't like the game, I think he found the scene, a little bit interesting. And there again, I don't think he liked the game because of he doesn't. It's kind of funny. He likes playing deck builders, but he doesn't really like building the deck. Yeah. So which is kind of odd. Plus, because of the luck concept of Destiny
has so much luck.
I think that pissed him off to no end.
It pisses me off.
Because he would have I would build like a deck, or something like this, and he'd see, oh, this is a great idea, and stuff, and he'd see what the purpose is, but then he'd freaking, roll 3 damn blanks in a row or something, and it would just drive him nuts. You could see, as Xander is a pretty low-key kid for the most part, but that was the one game where I could see the bad rolls boiling up in him, and it would happen to him in a lot of games, and so he's like, yeah, that game just causes my anxiety to go too bad. He's like, I can't stand it.
The problem with Destiny, it's like Magic, where you have the luck of the draw, but you have also the luck of the dice. It's like, let's take Magic and add more luck. Yeah. And so you build this awesome deck, but then you can't draw the cards and you can't roll the dice.
Well, and what was funny was I tried to build theme decks, sometimes too, where we kind of try to be a little bit more laid back, but he's like, he liked the meta type decks that were really just fast paced and just boiling. So I build those then, but then that's when the luck factor became really, pronounced, because then you got these 2 really strong competitive decks and it's almost coming down to some rolls of the dice. You try to build them as good as you can to, minimize that luck factor, but there's still a little bit of it.
Cool. All right. So what have you guys been watching?
The Boys, continuing to watch that. Are you watching it, or are you just holding off until all 8 episodes come out?
Yeah, we haven't gotten back to it. We binged Cobra Kai both seasons.
Oh, we did too.
Did you? Wow.
It's a good show, right?
Did you both enjoy it?
Yeah, it's so fun.
I keep
And then we
wanting to
went
watch
back
it,
and
but
watched the original Karate Kid last weekend.
I don't know why you'd have to rewatch the.
I know, it
Kid
tells
if
you
you
all of
watch
it.
the show because
I
it's
know
all
that.
there.
Really?
The
But-
music.
Yeah, it's so fun to go back and rewatch it. But yeah,
Oh my god, that show.
it's ridiculous, but it's fun, right?
Yeah.
And it sucks you in.
Oh yeah. No,
But it's-
I couldn't. I was ready. Like, let's do another one. Let's do another
Yeah.
one.
How
When
many
it's over.
episodes?
There's 2 seasons of 10 episodes each.
Wasn't the first one like 8 or 9, or was it?
I thought it was
10?
10.
It might be, but they're
Okay.
only like
They're like only 30.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
not
really?
a full hour.
Okay.
They're pretty. They move
Fly.
pretty fast.
They
Okay.
fly.
That's good then.
But yeah, I don't know, man.
I
There's
might be
just-
able to talk the wife into that one.
What I-
the music.
It's very 80s nostalgia, like
Yeah.
it's all
They
through.
go
I
to
think
the-
that I would really like it. Just watching the little trailer things on Netflix, I'm just like, I gotta watch this.
Dude, like, you just feel bad for Johnny, man.
Oh yeah,
You're
well,
you're totally on Johnny's side.
well, that's what I said. That's what I said. Like we talked about last week. I said I was watching. I said there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of tones of gray, right? Like at first they kind of make Johnny as the good guy and Danielson as the bad guy, but then that kind of shifts too, and it all just becomes very gray. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't even know who you're rooting for at some point.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, it's great, man.
So you done with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't this end suck?
Yeah.
Like what a cliffhanger and what a crappy ending.
Dude, like,
Here's the one thing I want to complain about though. So I've been kicked in the head in like a taekwondo tournament before. It's not a good feeling. Like you like, whoa, you know,
It really does.
because like getting punched in the head, it kind of makes you a little loopy. But kick, you know, legs are a lot more powerful. These kids are getting like kicked in the head like
Oh, yeah.
50 times. Or getting back up and keep going. It's like, dude, you can't get kicked in the head that many times.
And
And
you're
keep
like,
going.
where's
You
the-
can't take that amount of punishment.
Where's the teacher?
Yeah, well, that's every show.
Well, yeah.
Where's
the teacher?
Barbara's
That's true.
like, where's the teacher? I'm like, Dimitri left to go get him at school. But man, I like God, I can't remember his name. The old dude that joined.
The old dude. Oh, the guy.
Yeah, because he changed his name like Hawk. He changed his name to like
Yeah, like
Rattlesnake or something.
Yes, something like that.
But when they were at the party and he shows up
With
with
the
his
date.
girl date, she's
He's
like,
like,
"Thought you said we were going to a friend's house for a party." He's like,
these are
"Yeah."
my friends.
So he's like this older. He's probably in his 30s, and he joins Cobra Kai,
And he starts
Okay.
hanging
and
out
they're
with
all
like the
kids,
teenagers.
and they're in high school.
Okay.
So he just like hangs out with them and stuff. And like one of the kids, their parents is out of town, so they throw a party, and he shows up. And he's like, but the great part was he was doing the 40s, so he had the 2 40s duct taped to his hands.
Oh, good grief.
And the cops
And
come.
then the cops show up. He's like a grown man, and everybody's running, and he's trying to run away. And there's like a sliding glass door, and you can't open it because he's got the 2 things on his hand. I'm like, you're an adult. Like,
That's
why
the
are you
same-
running.
It's the same actor who was in that Richard Jewell movie,
Is it?
and he
Okay.
plays Richard Jewell. So,
Oh, that guy.
so he
I
like
know
plays
you're
almost
talking
the same character in
Oh,
Richard Jewell,
I
like an
was-
older kind of guy, lives with his mom, and wants to
Well-
be like a police officer.
about. Have you seen I, Tonya?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the same guy in that who
Is
plays...
it really
Yeah, who plays the...
the annoying brother? Or
yes,
whatever. The
yeah.
Is it the same guy?
It's the same guy.
I love that guy. He always plays the same character,
Yes,
but
he
he's
plays
perfect.
about the same character, but he's like spot on in
Oh
both
my
of
god!
them.
So he's in Cobra
Yeah.
Kai like the second season. I
Oh
think.
my god, okay.
So now you have to watch it.
Yeah, now I have to watch it, because that guy just cracks me up.
But I mean, it's just it's great because so at the end of the first season, of course they have a tournament.
Yeah.
And it's Cobra Kai and the one lone guy, which I won't ruin who he is or anything, but Daniel is training him with the Miyagi
Do karate.
karate, and so he gets hurt, you know, in going into the final, and he's backstage with Daniel, and he's like, well.
Time for the crane.
And he goes, paramedic? He's like, but I mean, they do the whole, like, me and Barbara are both watching it, and we see him back there, and we're like, both of us go like this, you know? And then he does it, and he's like, paramedic? Need some help in here?
So it makes fun of itself too. It doesn't take
Right,
itself
yeah.
too seriously, but yet it also draws you in with the drama and the characters. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a pretty fun show. Like I said, you could definitely pick it apart if you wanted to, because it's
Yeah.
it's very dramatic and it's a little over the top in some ways. But,
Yeah.
but it's a good time.
It's just, dude, oh man, yeah. Like, yeah, Johnny's like still driving around in like his 1980
I
Fiero or
excuse me,
Camaro
see that.
or whatever.
Camaro,
You know,
looks like a Firebird or something like that. Yeah.
cranking out the babes and the music.
Yeah.
Just like,
The 80s heavy metal hair band.
That's the one thing that's kind of ridiculous. Is like they play like he time traveled almost.
Yeah,
He's
like
like
he never
doesn't
aged.
he doesn't know.
Right?
Well, no,
Or-
they play like
well,
he doesn't.
He aged, but it's like he never.
Yeah, like he doesn't
matured.
know what cell phones are. Like he doesn't know how to
yeah.
use a phone. He doesn't know
That
how to use
was-
a computer. He's never been on the internet. I'm like,
yeah, he doesn't
okay,
know what Facebook is.
I understand that he's old and he's old school, but how can you be
Yeah.
alive today and not know?
What did you do the last
I mean,
20 years? You know,
My dad,
or-
who's 70, knows how to use a computer. You know what I mean? It's kind of ridiculous in that way.
When
But
he's telling him about the website, he's like, yeah, it's whatever, KOBR period COM. Like it's not .com. It's like period, and then he spells it out, and then so he goes and gets a computer because he starts this business.
Yeah, he's starting to.
And he goes to get a laptop, and he brings it back at like the pawn shop or whatever. And he's like throws it on the counter. He's like, "This thing's broken. It won't turn on." And he's like, "Are you hitting the power button?" And he's like, "Yeah." And the guy flips it around and like hits the button, and it opens up. And he hits it, and it comes on. And he's like, okay. He's like, "Have you ever owned a computer?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he goes back, and then he's like messing on it, and he like calls the guy back. He's like, "Yeah, how do I get to like the internet or the website or
Yeah,
whatever?" And he's like, "Well, are you hooked up to Wi-Fi?" And he's like, "What's Wi-Fi?"
Yeah.
And the
yeah,
guy-
so it's like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
through
kind of
everything.
dumb. It's like everybody knows who Wi-Fi. I don't care if you're 80s Johnny or not. But
Yeah.
you still know what Wi-Fi is if you've been alive the last 35 years.
it's
So, yeah, but I mean, it's still fun. But yeah, some of that is a little over.
well, and then the funny part is, so like his one Miguel, like his one guy, like he's comes to train him, and he like Miguel's like listening to like 80s music and stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this stuff's great. Like I'm like now into it, like 80s hair band music and stuff." Like he's going back to it, like because he's a teenager.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this stuff's great, man. I love this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I could buy someone still driving their old car and listen to 80s hair metal, but I just can't buy that he doesn't know what a phone
Yeah.
is.
He doesn't know anything
or a
about
computer or the
technology at
internet.
all.
The internet, yeah.
Yeah. I
And
know,
then,
that's
like,
just-
I don't know. It's just, they play the music, like
Yeah.
Cruel Summer, like all the music from the movie. They go back to the same putt-putt golf course, you know, that they
Yeah.
played at in it. And yeah,
it's good times.
Hawk is probably one of my favorite characters.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he's okay.
I don't know.
He's kind of a dick.
He is kind of a dick. And it's funny because, like, well, and then, too, like, I'm watching that final scene where they have, like, just the all-out battle, like, in the second season. And I'm like, they spent the entire summer training all these kids to be, like, karate fighters.
Uh-huh.
What do they expect?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they're gonna, and they're all have attitudes, and they're all bullies, and they're all just,
They're chugging.
like, they just flip the roles, you know? Like, I don't know, it's... And then they just have like this knockout, drag out brawl in the school for like 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And what happened at the end, like I saw that
Oh,
coming.
I did too. As
I'm
they're
like-
going up the stairs,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
totally
somebody is gonna happen, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I totally saw that too. They even psyched you out at one point because someone went over the rail, but
Right.
it was just another stair,
A
on,
stair on the other side.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that was close.
Yeah, I was like,
But
oh, that's the one.
yeah.
But no, that's what we've been watching. We've
That's
been
cool.
watching Cobra.
Yeah, we watched it
Cool.
a couple weeks ago. We started watching an Apple. I know neither of you guys have Apple Plus,
No.
I'm guessing, but Ted Lasso is like super good. I really like that show.
Okay.
It's got Jason Sudeikis,
Oh, I like him.
so he's like a coach. Like he
Oh,
actually coaches the
coaches.
Wichita State football team.
Yeah, that's that
Is the
never-
joke, but then this lady hires him to come to England and coach like a football team,
An
like an
actual
English
soccer
football
But he
team.
doesn't know that that's what it is.
He does, but he
Uh,
goes anyway, and so anyway, it's fairly, it's very upbeat, kind of funny, but not like super funny, and just kind of more. I don't know. It's interesting. I
Slice
liked
of
it.
life.
It's good. Kind of, yeah.
Cool.
So,
I finished the second season of Rebels.
oh, we're in the third season.
Are you?
You almost caught up to us. We haven't been watching as fast.
Whatever.
No, I mean we stopped. Like we're only watching like once a week now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I started Rebels before you guys were even finished with Clone Wars.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just now finished.
Well, we
the
were
second
watching
season.
every night, but now
So-
my youngest dragged my son into watching Gravity Falls with her.
I guess I'm like into the 4th or 5th episode of season 3, but
Probably,
it's pretty good though. I do
it's pretty good.
actually enjoy it. I mean, the first 2 seasons, it seems like there's an awfully lot of filler, type of episodes.
Yeah, it's kind of like a very episodic kind
Yeah.
of TV show type of thing.
But
I don't think it's quite
kind of-
as tight as Clone Wars, as far as that goes.
Yeah,
It's all right.
I would agree with a lot of that.
It's kind of like Serenity, basically, or Firefly, I guess.
Yeah, it's got a feel
It's
of
kind of
that.
very Firefly vibes.
Yeah.
So,
Of course, I think that about Mandalorian, though.
oh, that's true. It
You
does
know,
have that too.
Yeah. Let's see here. What Hasbro Pulse? They're doing, or HasLab, I guess is what they're calling it. It's like their version of Kickstarter.
Mhm.
They have the Razor Crest up there as one of the things they're trying to kickstart. If they get so many people
Razor.
to back, that is the vehicle that the Mandalorian flies around in. That weird, I don't know, 2-engine thing that he's
cool.
got. So, but you know how much that thing is? $350 freaking dollars for a damn toy that essentially fits our old, Star Wars 3 3/4 inch figures or whatever.
Is it
that
a
was.
really, really cool toy? Like, is
I
it
don't
super
know.
intricate and has like all sorts of?
It looks like it's
moving
going to
parts?
have a whole ton of detail and a whole bunch of removable parts and other type of things and stuff. But still, I'm just like amazed at the cost of this godforsaken thing. But
Yeah, I went to their website because they were kickstarting that Hero Quest game.
yes, and Hero Quest is the other thing they're kickstarting as well. Now that's a little bit more reasonably priced, I guess.
Yeah, it was only like 100.
It's like 100
about
for
what
like
you're
the
paying.
Elite or whatever
Yeah.
the hell else. But I'm a little unsure why the hell they're even doing that. Maybe they're just trying to judge the
The
waters
market,
there a little
yeah.
bit better.
Well,
the
they don't
market.
really go out of their way much. They mostly just rehash Monopoly 1,000 times.
Well, I know, and that's why I'm thinking, why the hell didn't they just rehash
Well, I
this?
think
But
they're
maybe
seeing
they
all these
didn't think-
Kickstarters doing with hobby
Yeah.
games, and they think they can get a slice of
and
that.
maybe that's what it is.
I'm
you
sure
know, I
that's
just
what it
would have
is.
thought that and maybe that's what they felt like was that the price point would not be something they could really get into your Target Walmart world, and that they really needed to do it via the pre-order.
Was
scheme of things.
Heroescape Hasbro?
Heroescape was, as well. Yeah,
Is that the old game? They're remaking it?
they're remaking Hero Quest,
Yes.
which is an older,
An old like 80s
80s game,
Yeah.
but it's more of a Dungeons and Dragons type
Dungeon
of,
crawler thing.
Yeah, dungeon crawler. Type
A lot
game.
of people played it, and it was very influential to a lot of people who make games.
Yeah.
I never played it.
But I think that it was really vanilla from an overall rule type
Yeah.
of standpoint.
It was
lot
very,
of-
I think a lot of people
lot of
customized
homebrew
it. Yeah,
stuff,
homebrew
I
stuff. I
think
think
was
that's
going
why
on.
it took off.
Did you ever buy the Dark Tower? No, you have your original.
I have the original Dark
He didn't
Tower.
kickstart it.
I did not kickstart.
It was too
that one.
expensive.
I was speaking of Kickstarter, so I was listening to a podcast with Scott Snyder.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, because it really threw me. Why would him and Tony Daniel kickstart a book that's already
Did he finally
kicked
explain
off?
it to you?
Yeah, sort of. So like,
I tried to explain it to you.
What you explain it to me?
Oh, he said he wanted to have a way to talk to fans, kind of connect with them a little better, and then he also wanted to do like a process thing because he's kind of a process junkie, and so I thought that would be a cool way to do it. Is that what he said on it?
Kind of, sorta. I mean, yes.
But say what you think
there's
he said.
also, well, I know what he said.
Oh, cool.
There's more to it because he's basically, I think he's at the point where he's transitioning out of DC.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's telling the final stories that he wants to tell at DC, and so he wants to start his own. He is starting his own line of like comic books, and it's called like
It's something about like
Tux,
his son's name or something.
Best Tux or something like that.
Sure.
But anyway, so he was like, we wanted to do this Kickstarter because, well, with kind of like with the coronavirus and the market kind of unstable and not knowing who's going to have work and who's not going to, with all the stuff that went down at DC, like all that, he's like, well, this just kind of like solidified, like he was like, this solidifies, like if we make a nest egg, then that I can pay, I can pay the creator, I can pay Tony Daniel, and he doesn't have to do side work, he doesn't have to do commissions to like make money, he can just focus on the book, but he has a bigger scale plan where he has like 6 or 7 or 8 different series that he wants to launch. And so like once the money they raised will solidify that series, then he's like, I'm just gonna throw it all in the kitty, and then I can finance my next project,
Correct.
and then I can have the money. And he's like, and then I can. He's like with I don't remember what he was. I might have said with like Kickstarters or even books, like image books. Like when he would make deals with people, it's like, okay, you know, you do 50-50 creator or whatever with them, and then you pay him a page rate, and then you hopefully, you know, once you make enough money, then you absorb that page rate back in out of the profits, and then you start splitting money. He's like, I don't even want to reabsorb the page cost. Like, I just want to pay them and then start splitting profits or whatever, you know. So, I mean, he's a cool dude. Like, I've never really heard an interview with him before, but he seems like a really, like, he loves comics. Like, he comes from a place where he grew up reading comics. Like, he loves comics. And, like, it was his dream job to do comics, and he just wants to, like, continue on. And I mean, you know what I mean, like he's doing stuff that he's going above and beyond, like that he doesn't have to do. But
he seems pretty smart. He almost seems too generous though, because like that Undiscovered Country thing, well, he did that book with Lemire, that, what was it called, that one that was like life after death, AD after death. And then it was really successful. He's like, so I'm just going to donate like a lot of the money I made off the book. I'm not going to make a profit, just going to donate. I'm like, dude, just take the money. Right. And then like they did that Undiscovered Country, and that first issue did really well. He's like, yeah, we're not going to take any of the profit from this first issue or something like that. I'm like, dude, just take the profit. I mean, why do you keep trying to like give away your money? And then with the Kickstarter, he's like, well, I'm not going to pay myself for any of the Kickstarter proceeds. I'm just going to put it all in the kitty or whatever. Right. Dude, take some cash. But it's like, or he must just be flush or something. I don't know.
And that's the thing too. He was saying like, you know, which, you know, we've heard rumors about like what they get, like for appearance fees and stuff.
Yeah, and
like,
they do pretty well.
And they seem to do really well. And I mean, you know, Death Metal and Batman. Like, he's got to be killing it on royalties.
Yeah, I'm sure he's making plenty of money doing.
But he was like saying, you know, like on that thing, he's like, you know, I don't want to seem like I'm like rich or anything. He's like, you know, I'm not. I make a decent living, but I'm not like, you know, I don't get rich off of comic books. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that, you know.
Well, he's probably not Kirkman McFarlane rich, but
right, or you know, like Image founder
or Miller or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously not Miller, because Miller made that Netflix deal. So he's got like. And he's not like these celebrities that are selling all their liquors off for...
That's true, too. George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds.
$600 million, $300 million.
That's right.
For alcohol, so... Yeah. Anyway.
It was a good interview?
Yeah, it was a good interview. I think it was probably on Word Balloon. I think it was, but I can't remember. I've been driving a lot for work, so I've been listening to a lot of crap. I've been listening to a lot of stuff. It all kind of blends together. As far as I don't remember what's what.
Stuff crap. I use those terms interchangeably. Crap isn't necessarily a negatory term.
That's true.
That is true anymore. Yeah.
But
I don't use it like that.
But yeah, and then, you know, like in that too, like that it's black and white, and it doesn't have any lettering.
Yeah. So it's just like an art
process.
It's
basically like an art process book, yeah. And
that's why I didn't back it, because I'm like, because it's going to put it out in an issue, and it's not in color, and I'm not that big of a process.
Right.
So I don't really care if I see the script next to the art, and I've read a script before. It's not that interesting.
Yeah, some of them are.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just not that.
I'm not that into the script,
into the whole behind the scenes process of that. Which is amazing, because I can sit there and watch, 8 episodes of the gallery, which is the behind the scenes of something else. When I look at these things where they add the script at the end, and I do actually take a look at it, you know, and try to, but then for whatever reason it just doesn't pull me in, you know, because I guess for some reason in my comic I don't want to know the behind the scenes. I don't know what it is, you know. So
you want to gouge your eyes out, I'll bring in my League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Absolute. And one of the books is just Alan Moore's script.
Yeah, but
like all of them. It's like I tried to read it one time, and I sat down, and it's like he took like, this is like long, single spaced. He took like 3 pages of writing to do like the first page of comic book. You know what I mean? Like it's
maybe that's the thing.
one of my goals.
Feeling.
One of my goals is to sit down and read that.
Well, that was one of my things. One of my goals in life was never to be a writer, type things, and maybe that's why some of that,
that's
type
a weird
of
goal.
Perspective. Exactly.
Never
be a writer.
writer.
So, but that I don't know. I'd much rather be a director than a writer, type of thing. So maybe that's why I find the movie, behind the scenes type stuff more interesting than the writing process that converts into pretty pictures.
Well, it's weird because I really like documentaries, and I don't know what it is. Like if it's a good documentary and it's about a good subject, I love them.
Yeah,
but and then I'm sitting there going, man, when I was in school, they put on documentaries or crap, and I'm like, this is the most
they weren't very
boring
good
thing.
back
Well,
then. Documentaries are much better. I think that's the problem.
That's probably
documentaries are
it's
done.
because we're old now, and now these documentaries about our younger years.
Well,
there's a little nostalgia factor,
and that too. But I watch all kinds of stuff, not just the toys that made us.
Yeah.
And,
but I'll Google, I'll look stuff up on Wikipedia, and I'll just read the page and just gather all this knowledge.
No, what's even worse is the fact then there's links in there, and then you gotta get tied into that, and it's like the next thing I know, I've spent an hour just reading through shit on Wikipedia.
But then I was never fascinated to learn anything in school, right? I never wanted to learn anything. Nothing was interesting. I think here it is, and I've seen it with my own kids. The school system basically kills your urge to learn anything. The way they do it, they just suck all the fun, all the life out of it.
By the time I got my engineering degree, I did not want to be an engineer.
Yeah, exactly. Our school systems in this country are they just kill it. They kill any curiosity. They kill any urge to actually learn just for the sake of learning.
There's a guy that he's an intern, and
they should make a documentary about that. They probably have.
Yeah, he was there for the summer, and he was doing online classes. Well, he came back with the pandemic because he came home and then he was working and he was doing online classes, and I think he was taking some summer classes. But I had some conversations with him, and he's like, yeah, man. He's like, all colleges is the ability to ingest information, regurgitate it back out to a certain degree, and he's like, you don't really learn anything. You're just learning to learn something. You know what I mean? He's going into engineering, and he's like,
well, but the goal of engineering through college is not to teach you about all this stuff. It's to teach you logical thinking.
Right.
And how you process things and whatever else, and knowing where to look. Because there's no way you're going to remember I shouldn't say no way. There's some people that can, but the majority of people are not going to remember every single thing that's thrown at them throughout those 4 to 5 years, type stuff. Unless you're like Carrie, who I'm pretty sure did. But, the majority will not. But at least they know where to look for it, or, that type of stuff. Now, of course, Google helps with that immensely too. But a lot of it is knowing where to look and understanding it, in some perspectives, and having that problem-solving process to deduce what the heck you're trying to get out of it.
And to what you were saying too, I've heard it several times from different places and things, and it's if you have a college degree, it'll get you in the door to a lot of places, and it doesn't even have to be a degree in whatever you're working in.
It doesn't.
A college degree, all it says to somebody is that you started
you're
something
trainable,
and you were able to finish it.
Yeah,
I think that was true 20 years ago.
I don't
know if
it still kind of is.
You
now
still have to have a college degree,
things.
but I still think just having a college degree doesn't open as many doors as
it doesn't. It opens more doors than
definitely.
If you don't have one.
Yeah.
Right.
But it does, depending on what the job is and what it is. If you have a business degree or a marketing degree or whatever, that could get you in the door to something that doesn't even pertain to that. It's just, you have a degree. A lot of jobs just require you to have a degree.
It'd probably get you in the door for my company, as a project type of integrator, type of person.
Yeah.
Or because they can teach a lot of that, and there's little certifications you can get, as well on that type of basis. A bit to your point, it shows that you have the drive to get something done and have maybe that more critical thinking type of perspective that an employer may be looking for.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm way more cynical.
Are you?
That took a weird tangent.
Let's see. Enola Holmes. I watched that.
Oh, I didn't watch it.
It's not very good.
I don't even know what that
I think maybe Julia might like it. I don't know.
Oh, it's that little?
Not really.
No?
It is more into that teenage tween though type of
Oh,
thing.
is that
I
that?
think. It seems like it almost feels like it's a Disney show, but yet being shown on Netflix, or that they want to try to get into that same market, of the Disney type of what would you say those series type things like back when my daughter was watching was Wizards and stuff, but I can't name what the hell the hot thing is now, on Disney Plus or Disney, from that.
My daughters went back and watched all the old crap my older daughter watched.
Exactly, and I don't know what the new one is, for that type of thing. They do a lot more movies, High School Musicals and whatever the hell else. But anyway, Enola Holmes is with the girl from Stranger Things.
I saw it.
Who plays
the previews for it. I didn't watch it.
And
it's got her in it?
Yeah, she plays the lead character, and her character is the daughter of Sherlock.
Shouldn't they just be making
or not the daughter of Sherlock? He's sisters. Yeah, it's Sherlock Holmes' sister is what it is, younger sister, and so she has
Billy Bobby Brown
type thing. Yes.
Whatever her name is.
Yep.
What's the new one? Is it on Prime? That's got John Cusack and I think is it Rainn
Wilson?
No, is that the dude from The Office?
Office, yeah, isn't that
Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson.
Yeah.
And it's got like some kind of comic book superhero thing tied into it. Do you guys have any idea what I'm talking about?
I don't.
I think it's on Prime.
I remember seeing like a preview about
for
it. Yes. I don't know any details.
Yeah, anyway, I want to watch that. But,
yeah, it could be pretty funny. Now that you make mention of that.
And then, did I talk to you guys? Did I tell you they had that? I don't remember what anything's on. I think it was on Netflix, but it was like a 4-parter documentary about the Challenger.
Yeah, that's on Netflix. Did you watch that?
Yeah.
Is it pretty good? I only watched the first episode so far, but I've liked what I've seen.
Yeah.
I already know the ending.
Right.
You do know the ending.
You do know
it's
the
kind of
ending.
like Titanic.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool because it puts you back in that 80s time, you know what I mean?
I don't know that I necessarily need to be back there, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was
simpler, I suppose.
The thing that was amazing to me is like, so they had that program like that. It started like in the late 70s where they opened NASA up to anybody can be an astronaut.
I'm gonna make a documentary discussion.
Why? But it's like anybody can be an astronaut, like we want, and they opened it up so that they could have African Americans and they could have women, and they could have Asians
and everything else.
and
Get those
else.
minorities.
Right, all the minorities and everything. And so and I get it, this is like, whatever, 81, 82, 83.
Well, at the time when they were hiring him, it was in the 70s.
Right.
Because they needed to go through that long-ass program.
Yeah. But it was like 2 years of training. But when they
started... it seemed almost longer than that.
When they started the program, they were sending the space shuttle up, and people were going on missions and stuff. And this one lady, she's a freaking astronaut. Like, she's gone through the astronaut training. She's an astronaut, and she's sitting there, and I think it was Brokaw, maybe. And he's sitting there talking to her, and he's like, "Hey, little lady," patting her on the back. So, when you go out on a date with a man, do you tell him you're an astronaut? Does that put him off? And I'm like, seriously? I'm like, really? Like, that's what it was like? And I'm talking to Barbara, and she's like, yeah, that's how it was. She's like, it still kind of is. And I'm like, wow. And then, like, on TV, like Walter Cronkite or whoever, like, the main guy, they're like, the black guy or the Oriental guy, like on national news, they're calling them like Orientals and black people. And
but he did say that it was made up of 3 black people, 2 women, an Oriental or something like that, type things. But quite frankly, I didn't see that much out of the ordinary. That's what we would say today, because of the fact that they're trying to show how much, equal possibilities that everybody gets, and things.
Well, yeah. But it was just
in some perspective.
It
was kind of funny though, because
out of time, you know what I mean?
Tom Brokaw was an asshole.
Oh yeah,
it seems like though.
Totally.
I don't know that I ever thought that, but because even after the Challenger exploded, they had this little bit with him, and they're like, yes, they're trying to figure out where to play. No, we're not hearing much, so we figure that they're trying to figure out who to blame or something like this. Just kind of really blatant. I was like,
right,
what the hell?
He said something too. He's like, because he's like, I don't really have any idea what happened, but somebody made a huge mistake somewhere. And I'm like...
And this is on national news, or something. I was like...
he's not wrong.
No, he's not. It's just that...
Not
I don't remember the reporting being quite like that, but then again, I was what, 10?
I didn't
I
watch
don't
the
know.
news,
So,
but-
yeah, I probably
Well,
wasn't watching the news.
And
there.
the other weird thing too is, I mean, because we all, you know, like I remember, like I was in high school and like we were changing classes, and I was at my locker, and somebody's like, "Oh, the space shuttle just blew up or whatever," you know.
You were in
Like
high
I didn't
school?
watch
Sure.
it.
You were
Yeah,
in
it was
high
like
school.
85, I was a freshman. 85, 86, 85. I was in high school.
All right.
But we weren't watching it live. So all I heard was, you know, the space shuttle blew up. But when it happened, like even the people on the ground, they didn't know
Oh,
that
no.
it blew up.
well,
you know,
they just, yeah.
They're like, and some people are like, and even on TV, they're like, well, that just seems weird. They're
Yeah.
like, well, that, you know, that doesn't look normal. And,
Yeah.
And then, you
We
know,
didn't know what to
NASA
think.
comes across and there's like, there has been a major malfunction or something, you know? And so, like, even the family members and people in the stands, like, at the launch, they didn't know that it had exploded. They just, you know, and then even they were saying, like, in one of the later ones, like, one of the sisters or whatever, she's like, well, surely they're okay. Like,
Oh, yeah.
things are designed. Like, they're going to find them, like, in the ocean, you know, or whatever. Like, they'll be fine.
Some bulletproof container somewhere.
Right.
Yeah,
Could be a coaster.
All right.
it is.
It is a coaster. No, it's not.
All right, I read some really awesome comics, so maybe we should talk about those.
I did not.
Fantastic. Go for it.
Where to start? Ooh, I read Batman Universe.
Batman Universe.
So this
I'm the biggest Batman guy here, and I don't even know what the hell that is.
this is Brian Michael
Brian
Bendis'
Michael
first
Bendis,
Batman
though.
story.
Is that fairly?
Was
I mean,
this-
how long
It was
ago?
serialized in the DC Giant Walmart
That's why,
magazines,
'cause I couldn't
and then
find
they
them.
and then they collected it in a trade paperback, hardcover, whatever.
Who's the artist?
So this is
Nick Darrington is the artist.
an original story from them about 5 years ago, or when?
Let's say 3
3? Okay.
years ago, maybe.
Back when
It's
Drew
not
went
really-
to Walmart and picked up all those things, and you couldn't find
Yeah,
them.
I
Yeah.
remember
Because all
him
the
doing
comics-
it. I just can't remember how long ago that was.
You couldn't find any of them because all the comic book store people went and bought them all up.
Yes,
and
yeah,
then sold
yeah.
them for like $30 in their comic book
Yeah, I
store.
knew that's what Drew was doing with them.
Yeah.
Kind of backfired on them.
So, so this is Brian Michael Bendis' first Batman story. He'd been writing Superman a little bit at this point, but I kind of feel like he really wanted to just hit the whole DC universe since it's called Batman Universe. But the story's really cool. Like it's kind of got like what do they call that thing where you're a MacGuffin thing that Batman's chasing. But first he's fighting the Riddler, and the art's really cool. Nick Darrington does really cool layouts.
Is
And,
he the one that did the no?
he did
I
Doom
said
Patrol.
Mr. Miracle, huh?
No, he did not do Mr. Miracle.
What's he done?
A Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol.
With Gerard Way.
Yeah, he did with Gerard Way. But anyway, so I
Very
mean,
good.
pretty much it's a who's who, you know, of the DC universe. He's fighting Green. I mean, they throw Green Arrow in there, Deathstroke, the Riddler. Then they end up in like the Gorilla City, and they run into the gorillas, and they get transported to like Hawk World, and they end up in
So it's just kind of
Dinosaur Island. I mean, it's just like this big, cool, like fun story. Jonah Hex, they end up in the Old West. And so, I mean, it's just all over the DC universe. Like, he just wanted to throw everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah,
And so it's pretty cool.
but a good story then.
Yeah, it's fun.
Overall?
I mean, like I said, there's not much to the story. It's kind of just an excuse to just, you know, travel all around all this stuff. But the art's super cool. Nick Darrington does that, like, small panel action thing a lot, which
Damn.
I always enjoy. But there's this really
You don't
cool
like that?
scene.
Well, no,
Or you just
no,
can't imagine
no. I
making
like
all
it.
that.
It's just, it's just crazy that you. I don't know, man.
What?
The production of that, like does he do everything? Is he penciling and inking, or is he just?
I believe he's penciling and inking. Most people.
Just even penciling, like I don't know.
Oh, here's a cool panel scene. So, like, okay, so they're going into this building. It's kind of basement. So you got Batman and Nightwing, right? They're going in, and so you just kind of follow him. He pops through. But then as Batman's going down to the next level, Nightwing's crawling through the grate. And he's coming through the grate here and then popping out over here. Like, it's a really cool use of, like, layout and space and,
Yeah, it is.
you know, time and stuff. It's just very creative, and it's just, I don't know, it's super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a super fun book.
And
It's
trying
just,
to show that kind of movement in
Yeah,
you know,
and
a stationary type of
yeah. So it's
format.
just- but no, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's just this it kind of felt like Brave and the Bold almost, you know, where it's just kind of like a little Saturday morning cartoon type of just kind of just a good time. You know, it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Didn't you buy the Superman one too?
I tried to, but DCBS or In Stock Trades they're called in stock trades, but they did not have it in stock, even though they are a distributor for DC as well, which is kind of weird that they can't get a DC graphic novel. And they're called in stock trades. And so what they did, so I ordered everything, and I wait like 2 weeks, and they haven't shipped it. So I emailed them. They're like, yeah, we can't get that book. I was like, okay, do you think maybe let me know instead of just hold my order for like 2 weeks and not ship it? No, let's just let it sit there out in limbo forever. Don't contact me or don't try to get the book. I mean, the name of your website is In Stock Trades, and I ordered an In Stock Trade, and it's not in stock.
The problem with In Stock Trade, at least the way it used to be, and I think it still is, they never pull anything down. They just pull their listings like right out of whatever.
I'm just saying, if you're going to call your website In Stock Trades, exactly. Crap should be in stock.
Because I had that issue 10 years ago.
I've had it multiple times with them where I'll order something, they're waiting on one thing in my order to pull, and I'm like, I mean, communication is the main thing. I mean, if I order it and you go to pull it and you don't have it, shoot me an email and let me know, you know?
Well, they did that to me because I ordered, like, you remember the big Spawn, like the hardcovers, like the very first ones, like the limited edition, like signed Spawn, Todd McFarlane, like they did like 3, like, what do you call them? Where you slide it in and you pull it out.
Absolute.
No, yeah, but like the cover, and then you put the book in.
Slipcase.
A slipcase. It was like this really
Where you slip it in the case?
Slipcase, signed, numbered, limited, all this, and like I go on there and oh, it says it's in stock. Boom, I'll take one of those, I'll take one of those, and I'll take one of those. And it's like they take my order, and they take my money.
Of course they do.
And then they send me back like an email. They got back to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't have these in stock."
Like, we can either get like one of them.
No,
or something stupid.
They're like, we can.
That's almost worse
than 2.
I know that's almost worse than.
But
getting
no, they're like, we don't have these in stock.
None.
And we'll go ahead and send you your money back or whatever. Blah blah blah. So that wasn't a problem. But it was the same thing. I'm like, your name, it's in your name, in stock trades, and it's on your website. No, you don't have it in stock. Then why is it on your website? So.
Maybe rename your website. Trades and hardcovers.
Just gambling for in stock.
Rename
trades.
Rename it. We're too lazy to pull down old solicits, so we're just going to leave them up there. And
well, I'm
take
sure with like the Superman
order.
book, they're planning to get more because I'm sure
they're
keeping it in print, but they hadn't got them yet.
Yeah.
And who knows when they're going to get them. So yeah, Batman universe, super entertaining.
Cool.
Wow. Cool.
Enjoyed it.
I read something.
Actually, I'd like to read.
Man, it's even got like a.
I will read it. I read Sandman
cover
10, The Wake.
What's this thing called?
Dust jacket.
Dust jacket.
There you go.
Slip cover. I don't know.
Sandman the Wake does not have a dust jacket.
It does not, does it? So this finishes up the Sandman story series, whatever you want to say.
Why would they get McCall Gilmore to do the introduction? I don't know who that is.
I don't know either. I think they'd said something. I probably did read it at one time, but like we were talking about earlier, I done forgot.
They did pull out the big name artists for the last arc, though. Michael Zulli, John Muth, and Charles Fest.
And the artist is, or I mean, the art is really good.
Well,
you know,
those are
through a lot
really
of
good
it.
dudes.
So, you know, type things.
Guys.
You know, this last one, this is basically this is just one. It's 6 issues, one big epilogue type of thing to, you know, the kindly ones and, you know, the death of Dream or Morpheus or whatever you want to say there. It really, this is almost like a perfect one to show the brilliance and yet the weakness of Sandman in general. So the first 3 issues of this are really good because it's like the wake, the funeral, and the Passover to Daniel, who is now Dream, you know, type things, the new Dream. And
this is that annoying story.
I know. And so those first 3, that's where he should have ended it. And it would have been a nice, tight thing. Now, that's what I say here, but I don't know. But then all of a sudden he throws in like this one-shot thing after that.
Where they're like at the Renaissance Festival.
Well, yes, and it's about one of the side characters that have been in there a little bit. And I think he just wanted to show people where this guy was at now. I don't know. It would have been great for like another little... Make another freaking, you know, trade of just little one-shots to talk about different side characters. But no, it has to be after his whole wake and everything else, and the Passover to Daniel, then it talks about this guy. So, I mean, it's not even Dream. So it really doesn't even work very well, I don't feel like, here. Then the next one after that.
This weird experimental
yes,
thing.
This is like a different, experimental. It's kind of like some of the little one-shots earlier on that happened, in which it's about a character who's having a dream and met up with maybe I can't even tell anymore if it was maybe he met with Morpheus at one point in time and now he met with Daniel knowing that there was something there, but it involves that and a cat and I don't know, it's like this little one thing too, and I was like, what the hell is this really adding? I mean, it's pretty, and here again it's Gaiman's voice, it's very eloquent, and everything else, but it just, I don't know that it really is needed here. Now, the very last issue that wraps everything up, it actually, I do understand that one a little bit more because of the fact that the whole Sandman, series was really supposed to be a tragic story in the vein of like William Shakespeare tragedy type of thing. And that's where he goes back at the very last one, is to William Shakespeare writing, I believe it's The Tempest at the end, which is the other story that basically when Sandman met William Shakespeare throughout earlier in the book he said, I will give you, the ability to craft, great stories, and things of this nature, but you will owe me 2 stories. Mm-hmm. And so one of them was The Midsummer Night Dream, which was his,
comedy.
Well, it was his comedy, but also, in respect to the fairy world or whatever the heck else, type of things. And then the last one is The Tempest, which is a tragedy that was supposed to be more in line with, what Morpheus wanted, I think, in general for himself. And so it does kind of tie that up. It's just not maybe one of the stronger stories in general because it is focusing a bit more on Shakespeare, and it's almost more like a more of a shout out to Shakespeare in the end of his life, type of thing, than really being more of a story about Dream, type stuff. It's still okay and still within that, but like I say, the first 3 on this are just really solid. It's really good. It really just brings the emotion out and really ties everything up. The last 3 is kind of like, feels like Gaiman couldn't really give up, type thing quite yet, and he had these little things he wanted to throw in.
As a writer, I almost think you want to put those 3 filler stories in the beginning.
I know.
And then put the other 3 at the end so it ends strong. You know what I mean?
But I think the problem was that he had just killed off, Dream, and he wanted to keep that momentum going. But since this was in, issue form, at the time, would that have been good, to suddenly have these little interjections in there? And plus the fact that one of them was really almost had to happen after the wake in a way,
gotcha.
Because of how the things have progressed.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's like I said, it's high and lows kind of Sandman in general, but I'm glad I reread it overall, and things. It really gives to me, it shows a lot of where a lot of these other writers came from, and things of this nature, and the fact of just overall Gaiman's imaginative mind as well as his just eloquence with words, in a lot of ways. Is it perfect? It's not, and it definitely has these areas where it kind of, drags and things. And there's a hell of a lot of shit that's written in here that goes way over my head. But it's still a beautiful, story and presentation overall.
Cool.
Man, Sandman is done. You almost make you want to reread the thing.
No. Not anytime soon, there, probably.
No, you make me want to.
Oh, you? Yeah, there you go. There's definitely some cool things.
I think I've only read it once, all the way through.
I've only read it once all the way through.
But
and that was years ago.
Yeah. Well, I was the same way.
Probably sooner than you, because I got the absolutes. And I don't think I'd ever read it all the way through.
I think I borrowed Scott's trades once and read them all.
Yeah.
I think you may have, yeah.
Like 10 years ago, probably.
Yeah, it's probably about a decade ago or so. More.
Which is probably when I'm thinking I read it. So
yeah.
maybe it has been the same amount of time.
It may have been a little bit longer than
I've read
15
I don't know.
years ago. So, yeah.
Alright, I only have 3 things really to talk about.
So do I.
3 things.
Is it those 3 comics? Oh,
no, it's just a one series.
So, this is based on the old 1960 British TV show The Prisoner.
Really?
Yes. Have either of you watched that?
I'm sure Drew does.
Watched The
but
Prisoner.
You
I
have
have
watched
not.
it?
I have not.
Oh.
I would think I'm surprised.
Have you?
Drew was like a magnet for those little
No.
things.
Okay. So I'm in the process.
Well, I probably would have watched it, but it doesn't have a ending supposedly.
Yeah, but that makes it even. But so
Actually, I don't
here's
want
the
to start
thing.
a show that doesn't end.
But here's the thing too, like, so the show's really strange in the way it's presented. So it's episodical, and there's a plot. So basically, the story is there's this British agent, secret service guy, whatever, kind of like James Bond, works for MI6, the government, whatever.
What?
And he gets upset and he quits. Well, he goes back to his apartment and they basically gas him.
What?
And then he wakes up and he's in this village.
He's a prisoner somewhere.
He is a prisoner
Oh.
on an island in this village.
On a 3-hour
And
tour, huh?
everybody has a number. So they all wear these little buttons with like it's either an umbrella or like like those old timey bicycles with like the huge wheel and then the small wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they have like these and they all have a number. Everybody has a number.
Really?
And so they send him there because they think that he has flipped. Like he's quit because he's a double agent and he's working for somebody else. So they're trying to get information out of him. So they're basically trying to break him down. And this village/prison is when people try to retire and they don't have anywhere else to send them, they send them to this village.
Okay.
But I mean, they have their own kind of like money system. Like they have shops, they have everything. Like but they just can't leave. But
okay.
the weird part about the show that I cannot quite...
I think it does end. I think it does have...
The weird part about the show that I can't quite put I'm only like halfway through it. I've only watched like 8 or 9 episodes. But it's almost like every episode starts over. So like because they introduce him at the very beginning because they have their opening. They're like, you're number 6, and he's like, who are you? And he's like, I am number 2. And he's like, who's number 1? They're like, you don't need to know that. And it's, what do you want from me? I want information. But there's always a different number 2 because number 2 is the one that's in charge of the village, and they take orders on the phone or whatever. They get messages from number 1, and so they're basically trying to break this guy and incorporate him, but he's the hard-nosed, like, I'm not a number, you'll never break me, I'm a free man.
Yeah.
And so like he's constantly trying to escape from the island. Like that's his purpose. Every episode he's trying to escape, and it's just like total mind fuck games on this guy.
Cool.
Like there was one episode where, and most of it's all set up, like they're just stringing him along because they have a control room, and they have these guys that have monitors, like they have cameras, everything's bugged, everything's mic'd, they can see everything, but he actually thinks that he gets away. Like he builds a raft and he gets away, and he gets picked up by a ship, and then they take him back home, and he's like at his home, and you think that he got away, and then the next thing you know, everything has been built on a set, and he's like actually on a boat, but it looks like his apartment, and they're shipping him back to like the island, and that's like how the episode ends. And then they start the next episode, and they're like, why are you here? Who's number 2? And it's like, so I don't know, like it doesn't continue. It's like a separate episode every time, and it almost starts over. But then as you get into it, it kind of alludes to like, he knows that it's a different number 2. So I don't know. Like the whole show's almost like a kind of like a mind F or whatever.
Huh.
But like they have these. So like when you try to escape, it's funny. I mean, I was talking to Drew about it a little bit before you got here, and it really was ahead of its time. I mean, it's like science fiction, it's like spy stuff, I mean, it's British and it's from the 60s, so I mean, there's not really any special effects. The costumes are terrible. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
But I mean, it's a lot more of a mental type of thing.
right. But they have, so like one of the ways that they keep people in check, because like one time he just swims out into the ocean and tries to swim away or whatever. Well, they have this thing, it's in the water and they'll show it and it's like a big giant bubble. But it's not like a clear bubble. It's like kind of, but it pops up, like they form it underwater like a bubble, and it comes up, and then it rolls, and it chases them down, and it wraps them up, and it screams, like it has a roar, like when it comes, like whenever it's around, and it'll like follow them around and stuff. But apparently it's really bad to get like captured by one of those things. But they're always doing like, mind experiments, like drug experiments, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
All the mental.
Yeah. So anyway, this is set in I think it was published in 88, 89. So this is set, whatever, in 1988, 89, as if The Prisoner took place in the 60s and was a thing. And so it's almost kind of the exact same thing. There's this lady, and she's married to a guy, and they're both like secret agents or whatever in the British government. And she wants to leave, and they're actually getting like a divorce. And so she wants to leave, and she's actually going on like this. She's going to be like the first woman to like sail around the world, like without any, like on her own or whatever. So she's going away on like this long sailing mission or vacation, whatever. And she ends up getting shipwrecked, and she ends up on the island with the village, but it's all torn up, like it's all in rubble, like nobody lives there, it's just like abandoned. And so then it turns into like this thing where nobody knows where she is, because she just disappeared off, like she broke communication and nobody knows where she is. But it hints at like the husband or whatever is in on it. Like they planned for her, they coordinated and planned for her to go to this place. And then it does a weird thing towards the end. Well, there's one guy that lives on the island, and it's the dude from the 60s TV show, the number 6 guy or whatever, but he's like there by himself now. And it's almost like he was just left there, or he actually turned into the thing, or like he's the one in charge now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's just, from what I can tell, it didn't make, I just remember like buying it. I don't even remember why the hell I bought it.
You probably found it at a comic book convention for like a quarter.
No. I bought these off the shelf. Like,
oh, really?
In the 80s.
Probably because they kind of had some interesting
format?
I think so.
Probably because
you just gotten a job and you were flush with cash?
I guess. I don't. Maybe
Cover.
I did buy them at a convention. I seem to remember buying this like at the comic book store.
I thought that looked cool.
But,
that's what I'm thinking.
yeah.
I'm thinking you probably just looked at it and thought, that looks
But
pretty
I had
neat.
no history.
I'm sure those
with it.
DC house ads really sold you.
I didn't even know that the TV show The Prisoner existed from like the 60s.
Right. I'm thinking the cover probably drew you in there in some respects.
It kind of
was this in like the 80s and things?
Yeah, it's like late 80s.
So I mean, what was going on? But I mean, that's also when they had the Vertigo.
You missed out on Dark Knight, and you were like, "Oh, dude, this
could have been."
Yeah, I know.
But the Vertigo
the
imprint started up around then too, right, or whatever.
a little bit later. But
yeah, a little.
Okay.
I don't know.
I thought it was
depends
the
if I
late
can
80s.
believe what Don says about when this was.
I think it's 88. But Vertigo was before that. Sandman
Yeah,
was
so
around
that's
in
what I
like
think.
85, 86.
Yeah, it was in the mid.
Sandman was not 85, 86.
It was at least.
This is 88.
It was 87.
Something like that. But I thought Sandman came.
Well, I remember the first time I was introduced to Sandman, they were on. One of my friends in high school who bought comics was reading it, and it was the Seasons of the Mist. So it was already in its 20th issue.
Yeah.
And that had to be like 87, maybe 88 at the latest.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
but I guess that's just where I was going. Maybe your thought process at the time was, DC was trying to be a little bit more edgy, different, getting into some little bit more maybe darker stories or something like this, but definitely some things out of the superhero realm of stuff. And,
But
and especially even at that time, there was a lot of it that was, starting to rise in popularity and things.
Yeah.
And
even without even knowing that it was a TV show and having the history, because like I said, watching the show and then reading it, that dude does show up and they do reference number 6. Like they even, I think, call him by his name, like Pat, like the actual
Sandman
actor.
didn't start till 1989.
That can't be right.
It's totally right. Publication date, January 1989.
okay.
It was post Dark Knight and Watchmen and stuff.
It doesn't line up with time
course it
frames. For me, well, maybe. I don't
It
know.
probably does. I mean, obviously, it can't be.
Maybe I wasn't in high
And
school.
I think that seems right to me because of the fact that
wasn't in
I
high
think
school.
there was a note in one of these Sandmans when I was reading that it said 88 to wherever the hell he ended. So I bet you he had to have started writing it in 88.
Well,
because of the
if
publishing
it
in
says
89.
89, that's
So
January. It could have been
89.
published 2 months earlier.
The
so-
Season of the Mist wouldn't have been out till 2 years later.
Yeah,
You'd have
Yeah.
been in college.
I
Well,
guess.
The Vertigo kind of started with Alan Moore was doing the Swamp Thing, and it started out as like a Swamp Thing book, and then he turned into this other thing, and so they kind of like backdated Vertigo to like Swamp Thing. As Swamp
Right.
Thing kept going, eventually it became kind of the Vertigo idea.
But they did backdate it, so it's like
I mean-
before Vertigo existed. Like now, they'll reprint.
Swamp Thing
Swamp
as
Thing
Vertigo,
as
but technically
Vertigo.
it wasn't out until
Right.
because Sandman was kind of the first real.
I thought it
Vertigo
was the first
book.
one of the Vertigo book, so to
Yeah.
speak.
But I think Alan Moore's Swamp Thing was kind of the forerunner to that.
Yeah.
Kind of like Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, wasn't that coming out at that point too? Before Sandman?
It'd be around that time, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, I mean, I didn't remember anything about this from when I read it 20, 30 years ago or whatever.
So it was a flashback.
But yes, but it is. You could read this and not have any, because it is kind of its own contained story.
Yeah.
So you could
It's
read
just
it and not
4
have any
issues long.
Yeah, it's 4 issues long. So I mean, you could read it and get a story out of it, but if you have background and experience with the TV show, it just adds a layer
it's
onto
that,
it.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
anyway, I mean, it's not like it wasn't great by any stretch of the means, but it wasn't
Wasn't?
terrible. It read fairly fast, so it didn't
Hey, what more can you?
take too
short
long.
there, you know?
But from more of
It's
a
not a Sandman, huh?
right, no, but from I mean, I'm not expecting people to rush out and read it or buy it, but if you are a fan of the show, it is a nice little kind of supplement to it. So
Cool.
but anyway, The Prisoner. Prisoner. So you said you looked it up and it does actually end, like it has an ending?
So it sounded like it, but I guess the ending is really vague. And so everybody, it sounded like they got all sorts of hate mail and
Yeah. You
nasty
would think
letters.
maybe with the book that it would then, because like I said, he's still on the
Yeah.
effing
I mean, I think it ends, but it doesn't end in a satisfying way. How about that?
yeah.
But I don't think, I thought, for some reason, I thought it got like canceled and there was never
That's what I
anything.
thought, too.
But I think it just had a really crappy ending.
ending.
And it was a crappy ending for the time and nobody
Yeah.
could handle it.
Right.
You know. I read
It was the
Daytripper.
1980s version of Lost or something there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
I wondered. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the forebearer of Lost, kind of.
I liked the ending of Lost.
Well, yeah, I did too.
I did too, but
I
there was
have
a lot of
problem-
people
lot
that
of
did
hate.
not like it. Yeah.
No, I didn't have a problem with it. But yeah, it kind of is kind of like Lost on
In a
a
way.
little bit.
Well, they kind of are in like an island, but it's a village and blah, blah, blah. So,
And spoiler alert, they're all dead.
are they?
In The Prisoner?
No.
At some point, but
At some
part
point
of
they
it
die.
wasn't
but
dead.
it wasn't.
They all
all.
died on the plane. Didn't
No,
they?
I don't think
No.
so.
I thought that's what happened.
No.
No,
No.
We'll have
No.
to go back and
Let's go back and
it.
rewatch
There you go.
it's slightly different than that.
Yep.
So.
I actually did sit down like back when
I would like to go back and rewatch Lost.
I started watching. I watched like the first 2, 3, 4. I just never carried on with it. That was
Yeah.
my intention. But
It's
Jesus,
definitely
that's
a
like
commitment.
Over
it's
100.
like 60 episodes. Is it 100 episodes?
I thought it was 100.
It probably is because it
It
had
ran
like
for
it was
5
like
seasons.
7, 8 seasons, but a couple of them were short.
They were short.
Yeah.
I mean,
But still, I think it was. I think
I
you're right. I
thought
think
it was 7 seasons, but
That was like 7. So yeah, even if there's a short one, I think you're still over 100 episodes easily. So yeah, it's a
Yeah,
commitment.
because
of
early
time.
on, I mean, those early seasons, every freaking one of them was like 20-some.
Right. Well, they ran into the
episodes.
problem because they were right in the middle of that big writers'
Strike.
Didn't that show right in the
I have
middle of that?
no idea.
I think it was, and I think that might have been what kind of screwed them up. But
Cool.
I don't know.
All I could remember is that Sandman was not 85 later.
I was thinking more 87.
So, Daytripper. This is by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba. I believe Fabio Moon. That's what Don was just saying. I think Fabio Moon did most of the. He did all the art, and then I think Gabriel Ba helped write it. I assume, but I think it's mostly a Fabio Moon show. But they obviously collaborated. They're brothers from Brazil. I don't know why in Brazil you don't have the same last name in your brothers, but maybe they're pin names. I don't know, dude. Because Fabio Moon does sound kind of like a pin name.
I've met him.
I have too.
I know.
Have you
I
really?
have sketches from each one of them. In my
Wow.
I don't know if I
sketchbook.
have sketches from them.
Damn.
It
I
says
remember-
to Dawn.
I just have to freaking worship the.
Whatever.
I-
They're tiny little freebie sketches
Brazilian.
at San Diego where you get rushed through like the DC or the Marvel or where they have like 4 or 5 artists and you're like, hey, will you do a sketch for me? And they're like,
That's okay. Now it cost you freaking $100 for that little
well,
damn
yeah,
thing.
for sure. But
So
anyway.
first, let's talk about the art. The art is super cool. It's Fabio Moon, and he has this really cool kind of humanistic sort of style, and it just feels very natural. And it's
He
just
is.
slice of life-ish.
Ba is the one that does Umbrella Academy.
Ba
right?
is much more abstract. Does Umbrella Academy? He's almost like I see a lot more Mignola in
Mignon.
Ba, whereas Moon, he's a little more of a kind of classical type of.
What else
style.
has he done? What else is.
Fabio Moon? I think he did. Did he not do the Matt Fraction book? With the
Oh, yeah.
Casanova.
Casanova.
I think Fabio Moon's Casanova and Gabriel Ba is Umbrella Academy.
Might be. I remember that.
And then they've collaborated on this book, and they did a couple anthology books together.
Gotcha.
Picsou was one of them.
So is this from a
This is
writer
DC.
perspective? Moon is the writer, or
They both wrote it. Fabio Moon drew it.
drew it? Okay.
So
But it
But
was
they
the
created it
idea
together.
that both of them had and kind of filled in. And
I
whatever
guess
Else, huh?
I assume it was mostly Fabio Moon's idea since he drew it, and maybe Ba just kind of helped him develop it.
Isn't this kind of a mind trip book too?
Kind of. So the concept, which I'll finally get to, is that Daytripper. It's every issue. It's like I think it's like 10 issues. Every issue is the day in the life of this dude.
It's Groundhog Day.
And he's trapped
And
on a
At the
land.
end of the day, at every issue, he dies.
Right.
Of course.
Now,
It's like
every
Groundhog
issue is
Day.
so the first issue he dies like when he's like 20 or something, right? But then the next issue he's older, and then he dies at the end of that issue as well. And so it's basically sort of like tells his life story by these one issues that kind of like are sort of a moment in his life that was important. Like he either met his wife, or he had his first kid, or his dad died, or he met a love of his life that didn't work out, or he broke up with the love of his life that didn't, whatever. So, and it kind of skips around in time. It's not really chronological. So they'll jump back. Like at some point they jump back to when he was like 11 years old, but he dies when he's 11 or whatever. So every issue ends with him dying, but yet, so it's kind of like
But
you're
it's still
seeing,
yet telling the story of his life.
yeah, so it's kind of like you're seeing
Or
10
multiple
different
lives.
alternate realities. It's like, what if this day he died when he was 11? But what if he hadn't died when he was 11? And then this issue is what if he had died when he was 23?
Man, that's deep.
But then let's say that
$1 Million idea.
the next issue, let's say, well, maybe he didn't die, and this is what would have happened if he had been 30 or whatever, And so it's a really interesting way to tell a story. Like the fact that he dies at the end of each issue, it's kind of like a gimmick, but it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's really just about this guy's life over time.
I feel like I need to have like a joint or something if I read this.
Right.
Or
It's
something.
really not. It's really not that.
Called Daytripper.
Yeah, it is
really-
called Daytripper.
It's really not that trippy. I mean, it's fairly a fairly basic story about this
You're making it
guy.
more complicated than it needs to be.
It sounds complicated,
Okay.
but it's really just a
That's-
story about this guy's life,
pretty typical for me.
and it's really well done, and it just really drew me in. And I guess the gimmick was there to kind of draw you in the beginning, but once
You
you
gotta
get
have a gimmick, dude.
once you get past the gimmick, it's really just a really cool kind of slice of life story, and it kind of, I don't know. As you get older, you start to kind of reflect, and you're like, oh, this is a cool story about this guy's life, about, where he went here, and how he went this direction, and it caused these things to happen in his life. I don't know. I really dug it. Like I said, the art's super cool, and it's just told really well. And I just super dug it. I mean, it's weird. It's like it seems like it would be boring because it's just about this dude's life.
It seems like it'd be depressing. He dies at the end of it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not depressing and it's not boring.
Happy. It's a joyous
really
occasion.
Happy. Because even though he dies, the
life,
next issue
Scott.
he's back alive.
He's back there. Okay.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's not depressing when he dies in Groundhog Day. But no, I really enjoyed it. It really drew me in.
I got you, babe.
It was good, man. You read this, right?
Yeah.
Like a long time ago. Like in single issues or something.
Right.
Cool. Did you like it?
I remember to like it.
You remember
I remember liking it. I didn't remember anything about it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I dug it.
Have you guys, I was thinking that, have you reviewed that on this?
Daytripper?
Probably.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Don probably talked about it many
just
years
sounds
ago.
familiar, but
I probably did talk
Might
about it.
have.
Well, that's the thing, Scott. You just take something that sounds very, very familiar and you put a twist on
I
it.
know.
And
that
then
is
it's a
the
brand
secret of
effing new.
life. Yes.
And I figured it out. All we have to do, or me or you or
Somebody.
you or us together, all we got to do is come up with a really cool concept and then make like one comic book of it, and then we get it optioned.
Oh, yeah.
And then it sits around, it doesn't get made, and then the option runs out, and then somebody else re-options it, and we just sit on
I don't think options
money.
are that lucrative. I mean, I'm sure it's
We
cash.
just sit on option money forever.
I don't know.
And then after 20 years...
I think the real cash comes when they actually make it.
Well, yeah, but I think you can live off of option money.
I don't think you can live off of options.
I think you can.
Speaking of which, I don't know, something on that, but it got me thinking. Star Wars Legacy. Is there something weird going on with that freaking chunk of books or that world of Star Wars or anything that you guys have heard from the comic
What's
realm?
Star Wars Legacy?
So Star Wars Legacy was like supposed to be Star Wars way out in the future.
Okay, yeah.
And it was basically
That was
like
a Dark Horse
it
thing,
was a
right?
Dark Horse comic book that was like the great grandson of Luke Skywalker or something weird. I just happened to be looking on eBay the other day for some other stuff and type things, and I came across it, and it's one of issue number 1 sold for like almost $100. It was like in the 90s or 80s.
Huh.
I was like, what the hell? And so then I looked, at other past sales, and maybe that was a high one, but still, it was like almost every one of them was going over 50 for number 1. And I read some article that just said something about the top 10 comics, and Star Wars comics, and one of them in there was Legacy, talking about that it was the first appearance, of a bunch of them damn Sith, that they did, special Sith. But I didn't know if there was like some other buzz going on somewhere, or if you guys had heard anything,
maybe
from
Disney,
the news.
maybe there's a rumor Disney's
Because
doing something with
literally, it had to have started going up in like the last year, because I remember looking at the number 1 issue that I had sitting in a damn box when I was selling some other comics, and I remember looking on eBay, it was like, damn thing's like $5. And then, all of a sudden I'm looking and it's, add a 0 to the back of that. I'm like, what? So it just kind of surprised me, and I didn't know if there was something odd that I was missing from that
But
realm.
I'm not caught up on, even the Star Wars books that are coming out now. I mean, they're just doing, the Marvel one is just doing, they just finished Star Wars, and now they're starting on in between, like, Empire, so it couldn't have anything to do with like the
great.
I don't think Marvel's doing anything with it. But maybe there's
Everything.
some rumors that Disney's doing something.
Unless Disney's
Now they're
trying
all
for
out of
something.
print. I mean, but I think
Very true.
I think you can
But-
read them on the app.
But you can probably do some of that, and
Well, of
hell, they
course,
were all in trades
He's
at one
talking
point
about
in
the
time
single
too.
issues.
Yeah, I know.
All the single issues are out of print.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
But I mean, I don't think Marvel's going to reprint the trades either.
Right.
I mean, they're putting some of that stuff back in. They could put some of it back.
You had a crack on that?
Yeah, there's a big crack on it.
Man, that must suck.
It does suck. And nobody would claim it either.
Oh,
I
of
asked my
course
kids,
not.
it's like, which one you stepped on my iPad and cracked it? They're like, I don't know. I might have, but I don't know.
Why is your iPad on the floor?
That's a good question. That's what everybody said. Well, he is on the floor.
Well, I mean, obviously,
You had it on the floor, so I stepped on it.
Obviously,
Because, if your iPad's on the floor, I'll step on it.
Obviously, you have the kind of money where you can just leave giant iPads laying around on the floor and not care about the consequences.
I'm guessing what happened
But-
is I set it up against like a couch and it fell over, and then somebody stepped on it when they got the couch.
See, you said it like on the side of the couch, not in front of the couch.
I think I did. It probably fell over.
It probably just fell over.
And it fell over on the side, but nobody walks back there.
Well, we have like an ottoman, so you might sit on the side of the ottoman.
Well, see, you don't do that.
Okay, I did, and so I stepped on my iPad and cracked it down the middle.
I'm not.
And this is an expensive iPad.
I
He's
know.
got this giant case too. You thought to try to help protect.
So
that.
here's the trick. So the case actually probably is the reason it got cracked. Because see, it's got a bumper. So you put it down like this and you step on it and it has some leverage and it cracks. If it had not had the case, it probably wouldn't have cracked just when I stepped on it because it would have been able to lay flat. So the case is actually the problem.
No. I think even if it laid flat and somebody stepped on it,
it'd be fine.
It's still gonna effing crack.
See, it's
I
not
doubt
cracking.
No, it's gonna crack.
But you get some little thing where you can get some leverage and it cracks. Scott understands. He's an engineer.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I don't agree with it.
Scott agrees.
I tend to agree with it just because I've dropped iPads for several feet and I haven't had them crack. Type things. Those things are pretty damn strong, believe it or not.
Well,
it just depends on where you hit them at.
I'm not saying that just because the damn thing's on the floor, it's okay to step on it.
Yeah,
That's still on whoever stepped on it. I'm
nobody
saying,
would claim it though. They'd be like, I don't know, I might have.
I've had just me personally, and I wax off sometimes, but most of the time, I've had comic book, like my kids have spilled shit on comic books. Yeah. They've stepped on them. They've done everything to comic books.
Do you get upset when they do it?
Oh yeah.
And does your wife look at you like you're crazy? Like,
yes.
Like, why are you getting so mad? It's just a comic book. Right. They just sat on my comic book and crinkled all the pages.
That's right.
The irony is, I really don't give a shit, but yet there's an internal part of me that's like, they just crumpled up my comic book.
I do kind of give a shit.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care.
Nice stuff,
but it's still annoying because it's like a comic book.
I've always
all crinkled.
had a habit of putting shit way up high on like the top of a TV thing or a bookcase or something, or it's tucked away nicely out of the way where it's not going to get trampled on. I mean, I don't know.
Well, get this. So my
but
Batman,
I forget where I put it, and they don't
Batman #1 of the New 52. It's actually worth a little bit of money.
It is.
So I had it on my nightstand in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. You'd think it'd be safe there, right?
Nope.
Then my wife goes and she likes to open the window that's right by my nightstand. Then the sprinklers are going. Or it's raining or something, and there's water flying in through and hitting all my comic books. And so my Batman #1, New 52, has a little flecks of water damage on it because I said on my nightstand thing it was safe, but then somebody opened the window and shit came in and got it. And I'm like, this is where my comics are. Why are you opening the window? And there's another window on the other side of the bedroom by her nightstand, but she doesn't open that one. It's because mine is closer to the door, and so it creates like a breeze because there's an opening.
Okay. Well, see, you should have bag and board
there's
on
logic.
That. You should have bag on board on that, you savage.
I hadn't read it yet.
I know. You always bag and board it immediately. Doesn't matter.
What?
Dude,
then you read it, then you bag and board it.
You can always...
See,
you just don't...
No,
the key is you don't put the tape on and everything else until after you read it.
The key is you buy the self-adhesive sticky stuff that you can re-stick.
Does that work pretty well?
No.
Yeah.
It does.
That's all I use.
It sticks like one time. Have you ever tried to re-stick it and the next time it doesn't stick? Yeah. Or the little adhesive strip peels off and you got nothing.
Well, yeah, that sucks when the strip... I've had the strip peel off. But no, I use those and I have for quite a while.
They work like twice.
Well, then all you got to do is get the Scotch tape and you're right.
And then you're right back where you are.
I
agree, but he just said it doesn't work well, and I said no.
I think it does, but I don't know.
You don't reread your books. You don't even read them the first time.
It's true. But
he bags and boards them and just puts them in a box.
It's true. I cannot, and this, I don't know when it started, but it's been going for a while. Even when I was still going to the comic book store, I would come home with my comics, and they went straight into a bag and a board. And I can't, like, it drives me crazy if I have a stack of comics sitting that are not bagged and boarded.
Hey,
they're next to a window
whether I've read
open.
The other thing that's annoying about those self-adhesive ones, you peel out the little thing, and then what do you do with that thing? And that thing sticks to everything.
It does.
You do like 20 in a row, and you got like those flicking things flaking all over the room.
Here's what you.
And then your wives are like, "What is this crap everywhere?"
Yeah,
and you're like, "Oh, that's my bags and boards, hon."
Here's what you can do. What I do, if you're talented enough, and you're doing a bunch at a time, like say 10 or 15 or 20,
they stick to each other.
Well, no, but you can you can hold the bag in the board and you pull it off, and then you keep that in your hand and you peel off another one, and then you just accumulate like 20 of them, and then you can take them almost like twist ties.
Oh, nice.
And you can wrap them.
Smart.
And then if you really want to, you can tie them in a knot. But if you just wrap them tightly, then they'll kind of bind together almost like a bow tie or like, what are those, pipe cleaners?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, in the center. And then you can throw them in the trash and they won't stick to everything.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
You've thought about this. All right, let's
Oh,
talk about...
no, I've done it.
That's what
A lot.
Let's talk about Middlewest.
Middlewest,
Volume
book
3.
3. That's right. It finishes everything on up.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
No, you're all good.
I haven't caught up on it, so.
Okay,
I
okay.
can't.
This won't take very long anyway.
Anyway.
Didn't take long to read.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. It ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's fairly satisfactory.
Yeah, I thought the ending was good. It felt like
it feels like it was a little rushed, though. Did that feel like that to you or something?
I didn't feel like it was rushed. I mean, I definitely could see, like, in the first trade, you felt like he's building this world and it could just go on forever.
Yeah.
And then, but then by the second trade, you kind of see he's got like a story, and then by the third one, you're like, oh, he's going to end it, you know? So yeah, I can see how it's rushed, but look at the whole thing. I guess not really. He had a story he wanted to tell.
Agree. It just
But I mean,
like...
it's kind of like, you know, Fables could have ended like in 30 issues, or it could have gone for 150. He decided to go for 150. This is the same kind of thing. It could have gone for a lot longer. But...
Probably so. It just seemed a little odd with how the first two trades went, and then this one I just felt like was the wham bam boom. Okay, there you go. I mean, there's great art in here, you know, and stuff, and you know, almost adding a certain cinematography flair, you know, or something like this into it, you know, and things. But at the end, I think it tells the story that he was wanting to tell, especially by the end, you know, type of thing about, you know, kind of anger and redemption, you know, and things like this. But like I said, it just seemed like that, you know, this build up to certain things and this kind of little war that was brewing just all came together pretty damn fast. And then once it happened, holy crap, I mean,
it's all over.
Yeah, and it's all over, and some guy died, and, you know, it's just like, well, okay, I guess it all kind of wrapped up for this thing that was building up to something that almost felt a little Stephen King-ish almost. Abrupt ending, you know, like, oh, okay, I got to wrap this up. But overall, though, it was still good, though. I enjoyed the ride, you know, in the read there.
I enjoyed the whole kind of Prison Break storyline. That was fun. It was kind of Great Escape kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I would too. Did you have problems? Part of my problem is probably the fact that I didn't. It's been a while since I've read book 2, but just following which character was which, I guess, in some respects. You know, and things, and who they were referencing sometimes when they were talking about a certain, you know, when they come up with a name. Now, who was that one?
Yeah.
And where was that? And what was their story? I can't remember, you know, or something. I don't know. It just seemed like to me I was much past our main character and his, you know.
There's him, there's the fox, there's the old lady. But other than that, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Who, there was that one, I remember in the first book, he, kind of bonded with that other girl in the circus. Right. And they talked about her a little bit towards the end.
Well, she's there.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that at first because I'm like, oh,
because she chopped off all her hair. You know,
and so I didn't really.
But I think they called her by 2 different names. Though,
so it was kind of confusing. So it didn't really have much. I was the same thing because at the end they talked about her like, oh, is she here? Where's she at? You know, I was like,
oh, she was that character the whole time. You know,
she's here the whole time. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, so and I picked it up a little before that, but I was like, oh, so that's the same one, you know. But plus, you know, maybe some of these other little side characters, I was like, well, who's that? And then in some cases, it's kind of like introducing a new character is going to help with the Prison Break. So, you know, because of all that, that's where I guess I felt like the rush, you know, kind of came in.
And that's the problem with the gap between trades because there's a 6-month gap, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, I remember the general story, but if there's a specific character who you don't do a real good job of kind of reintroducing or explaining very well, then I mean, I'll catch up eventually, but I might not catch all the nuance or the details. But
really, overall, I liked a lot of the world that he created. You know, the main character in that main character's main story is really good. I mean,
it's really well done.
really, I mean, it's got a. To me, I don't know. Sometimes I'm pretty much a simpleton in some respects, and I felt like it kind of had some of those, it had a good like emotional pull. Maybe because I could kind of feel like where he wanted to go and where he was coming from with some of that type stuff.
Yeah, because he kind of, it's kind of like a parable. He's
is.
kind of got a message.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a story, and
That's right.
It's character driven, but yet he's got this cool world all around to kind of.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a lot of that kind of redemption, and that you're not your history, and how do you break that, bind, and things of the cycle, and whatever that goes through, and so I liked, a lot of that, and I thought it was well presented, in a lot of these respects. Cool. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. What's next? Don's got one, right?
I guess I'll do this.
Oh, come on. I was giving you a hard time last week. I'm not going to do it this time. Tell me how great these old-timey comics are.
It's...
God.
Dude, it's kind of cool. So, this is book 1. I got like 11 of these coming.
What?
Yeah, so...
They'll get better, though.
What?
Will they?
Get older.
There's 11 of these?
No, you said the early stuff is cool.
At some point... No, I'm talking
time.
to you. I'm not saying I have an issue with it. I'm saying for you, it's going to get better. So this is part of a set that I bought. It's a Crisis on Multiple Earths.
Do you have them all?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a box set.
It's a box set of like 15 or 10 trades.
Yeah, it's like 15 hardcovers. And it centers around.
It only cost you like
I hope it only cost
$1,000.
It
you
only
like,
costs $1,000.
I was hoping like $10.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But anyway, towards the middle of it, you hit Crisis on Infinite Earths, so you're in the 80s.
How much did you pay for that box set?
I don't remember.
Was it like $250 or $150?
I think it was like $240 or something.
Oh,
but
nice.
It's like 16 hardcovers and a
Yeah,
cool magnetic collector's
It's not a
box.
bad deal if you want to read the stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is the first. I think there's like 5 or 6.
So the previous trade was like all the Flash stories where they
that didn't come in this.
Oh, it didn't?
No, they didn't include that.
Oh.
I read that on my own.
You just had that.
Well, yeah.
Well,
because
yeah, because he has everything.
Right.
Haven't we had this discussion before?
I bought as many of the DC.
It seems like they should have included that because that kind
I
of
know.
introduced the multiverse.
That's what
that
I
was your whole
thought.
point.
That
Okay.
was my point.
All right, so this is the first.
That
of
was
this
on my
box
own
set.
reading.
This is Crisis on Multiple Earths.
It's
So
not-
we got the JSA and we got the JLA.
That was not required reading. That was extra reading.
We got the
on my own.
Golden Age meeting the Silver Age. Is that right?
Yes.
JSA meets the
So
JLA.
Earth 1 is the Silver Age, and Earth 2 is the.
Who's
Golden
those people in the
So
top?
is that Black Canary?
Yeah, I think so.
So she was technically Golden Age, and they kind of brought her into the modern age.
Yep.
Was that pre or post Crisis?
I don't know.
Who the fuck are those people on top?
That's the JSA. You got Dr. Fate, Black Canary, Hawkman, Green Lantern, the old timey Green Lantern. I don't know who those two jackasses are. Our Man, I think.
Our Man, and that's Adam, I think.
Jesus Christ.
But anyway. Wow. There's some love.
So
Okay.
was Dr. Fate actually in the Golden Age? Like there was an old Golden Age comic with him?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, because I have it. I have the showcase. Not the... What's the opposite of the hardcovers? No, what are they called?
Archives?
Archives.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a Dr. Fate. Or
Archive.
1 or 2 Dr. Fate archives.
Cool.
Dr. Fate. He was a good guy?
Yeah.
Damn, all this time
He's
I thought he was a
magic.
bad guy.
So,
Damn.
as
I
I
he was a villain.
Magic.
as I talked about in the last episode, when they introduced
Did you
the,
really talk about it?
when they introduced
He got
the-
kind of pissy too.
when they introduced the Silver Age meeting the Golden Age, they created Earth 1 and Earth 2, which has now been expanded to like 52 Earths or whatever. So they basically
Jesus.
created the
Multiverse.
the beginning of the multiverse, which was a long road that came crashing down in 85, and they've been trying to deal with since by rebooting and killing off multiverses and bringing back other worlds and whatever. So, I think it's every year or every so often in the book in Justice League, they would have a 2-issue crossover where somehow they would team up with the JSA from Earth 2. And so this is just a collection of like the first
The team-ups?
4 of those. Yeah, there's like, so it's like 8 issues, or I think it's like 8 issues or 10 issues or whatever it is. So then, it's interesting because in the second one,
is pretty old.
it is. In the second one,
It ain't no Jack Kirby, I'll tell you that.
no, it's Mike
Sikowski. They're all Mike Sikowski.
Yeah, he did all of it.
Did he do all the JLA, or
I guess, yeah.
or he just did these crossovers?
I think he did it for that long. That was a long time to do JLA. I was thinking the same thing.
It's like,
but anyway, so
21 and goes
like,
to 47. I guess
that's
it's
a
only
career.
like 2 years.
Yeah. So in one of the stories, they introduce Earth 3, which
Holy shit!
which is the
Is that the Bad Earth
yeah, it's the bad Earth
with the bad J?
with the bad JLA.
What are they called?
The I don't know, the Justice League,
Bizarros.
Justice Society of Suckle.
but
Crime Syndicate of
the
Earth.
Crime Syndicate.
Of course.
Yeah.
I know this one, actually.
They're on Earth.
Damn it.
Did you know that one?
I did know that one. Because
Well,
I think it was like in the Lego video game.
Yeah, because Superman has like a U.
Yeah,
on his
he's
chest.
Ultraman.
Ultraman.
Superwoman. It's like Batman is Owlman. There's like a
Flash
a
and
Flash and a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Power Ring or whatever. But so anyway, this introduces that Earth, and so they have to team up and fight what did you call them?
Crime Syndicate.
Crime Syndicate. See, I can't remember anything. So they had to fight the Crime Syndicate, and then
I bet Gardner Fox thought he was a fucking genius.
oh
coming up
yeah,
with that
man, it's
shit.
great.
He's like, we got Earth 2, right, with the Golden Age. We're going to do Earth 3.
Yeah,
Be
and-
evil JLA.
And then in the next one, they do an Earth S or Earth A or something, but it's basically so one of the
Is it
one
a
of the-
comedian version something?
no
They all tell jokes.
one of the characters in the book, he's part of the JSA, I believe, so he's on Earth 2, but it's Johnny Thunder.
Johnny Thunder.
And he has it's
He's like a pro
basically
wrestler.
a genie that he
It's
controls.
a light brown hair.
He's a
and-
genie.
Yeah, I can't remember what he's called. He's that pink dude, like that looks like a thunderbolt.
Okay. I'm with you.
But anyway, his powers, he can summon this thing, and it basically does whatever he tells it to do.
That's what a genie does.
So the Johnny Thunder,
Dude, Solomon Grundy's in here.
and I get confused. Yeah, I get confused, like which Earth is which. But so one
You're
of
not the only one.
the Johnny Thunder from one of the Earths decides that he wants to meet the Johnny Thunder of the other Earth.
Oh, there's two of them?
Well, yeah, there's a Johnny Thunder on Earth 1, and there's a Johnny Thunder on Earth
Because there's no
2.
Superman on Earth 2. So.
Well, I guess this is the way that works with Johnny Thunder.
Okay.
So he goes over, and then the Johnny Thunder on the other Earth is a bad guy. He's like a
What Earth
gangster.
has like old Superman? Like in Crisis on Infinite Earths, there's like an old Superman.
I don't know.
Remember?
Yeah, I do. It's probably another one they had to create when they started figuring out that Superman would be like 107 or something. So and then they decided that he just doesn't age, and he's going to outlive everybody, so it doesn't matter. There can't really be an old Superman. Although, how far away is Kingdom Come? Because there was the old Superman in Kingdom Come.
I don't know.
But anyway. So anyway, this guy takes out, he takes over the genie and starts using him to try to be the bad guy. But he keeps trying to fight the JSA, and then the JLA will beat him. And so he goes back in time and stops all of the JLA from becoming the JLA. So he goes back to when, like, the Flash, what's his name? Barry, is it Barry Allen? Is he the first Flash?
Yeah, Barry Allen. Well, no, not the first. He's not the Golden Age Flash.
No, the Silver Age.
Silver Age Flash.
That's
yeah,
Barry Allen. So Barry Allen, he goes back to when Barry Allen gets struck by the lightning and the chemicals, and so he saves him, and so he doesn't actually become the Flash. It's really weird because, like, he goes to Krypton and, like, saves the planet of Krypton so that it doesn't explode, and so that Superman never becomes Superman on Earth. So he goes back, and so then the JLA just doesn't even exist. So he thinks he can take out the JSA on it by himself. And then he even goes and creates his own bad JLA, like his own goon guys that have the power. He takes them back and gives them the powers at the time. And then, but anyway, so that creates another Earth that's like Earth. I think it's alternate Earth, Earth A or whatever. But there's another Earth that he creates. So, but anyway, I bored you enough. I dig it. Like, it's cool from a history perspective. Like, I'll sit there and read it. And
Nostalgia
it's
type
interesting
thing,
to
probably,
me.
right?
It's not nostalgia because he didn't read them.
Well, yeah, it's not really nostalgia. But it's
from
a
like
part.
the 70s. He was like a baby.
Huh.
This
Okay.
is the 60s.
And he didn't read DC Comics till really the Batman movie came out.
I was
like
reading
88.
some.
You read Crisis.
I read a few DC, but I did not get into Batman until the movie, and that's when I started.
And what
buying
other
it.
DC were you really buying at that point before Batman?
About the Dark Knight, but I didn't really get it. I was buying like Who's Who.
Yeah, the freaking source book.
It didn't make any sense because there were like
Jesus
18
Christ.
Batman.
All right, so you have Newsarama. They're called Games Radar now. They had the top.
Newsarama is called Games Radar.
Yeah. So anyway, they had on July 7th. They had the 10 best Batman stories of all time. Right. So you got like Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader, which questionable. Court of the Owls. Okay, Snyder, Capullo. The Man Who Laughs, Brubaker, Monkey. Hush is number 7. Then Batman R.I.P. You got your Morrison stuff. Then you got Death in the Family, right? You got Starlin, Aparo. Long Halloween, all right, that's number 4. Number 3, Arkham Asylum, right? 2, Dark Knight Returns. And then number 1 is Year 1. No Killing Joke. How do you leave off the Killing Joke? But whatever. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Year 1 is ahead of Dark Knight Returns, but Dark Knight Returns is number 2. All right, those can kind of flip-flop, right? We'll buy that. So then they had the 10 best DC stories of all time, according to the readers. All right, so you got
Batman or DC?
DC. So we've expanded to DC only, or all of it. So you got Whatever Happened to the Man Tomorrow. Yeah, you got Alan Moore. The Return of Barry Allen, because everybody loved when Barry Allen came back with Mark Waid. Judas Contract. All right. Sinestro Corps War. Okay. And then number 6 is The Dark Knight Returns. And then 5, New Frontier. Pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's good.
All-Star Superman.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
The Great Darkness Saga is number 3.
It's the introduction to Darkseid.
Is it?
I believe it is.
Well, it wasn't
No, he was.
Darkseid is New Gods.
Yeah, New Gods.
It was when he kind of.
It's apparently I own the issues, but I've never read it.
It's supposed to be important.
Yeah.
Whatever. Number 2, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Okay, whatever, dude. But number 1, Kingdom Come.
Really?
Was Kingdom Come that good?
It's good.
I enjoyed it.
I mean, it was
It's
okay at the
Alex Ross.
time.
And it's
Alec
one that I
Ross
actually
and
read.
Mark
It's
Waid,
the first It's the first
Like why?
Alex Ross work for DC, I believe. 'Cause
Yeah,
he did
but-
Marvels.
I know.
It's DC's Marvels.
Yeah, I know.
Kind
but,
of, sort of.
But it's like futures. I mean, it's not really
Yeah.
the same story. How is Kingdom Come above all these cool Batman books? Like, how is it better than Year 1 or All-Star Superman or New Frontier? I mean, any of those would be. I don't know. I only read Kingdom Come once, so I need to go back and reread it. Is it that good?
It's.
I
I enjoyed it.
Isn't it
It's
just
still-
like, future apocalyptic superhero DC universe?
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing?
it was like the kids of them or something, wasn't it, or something a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I read
It's
that.
chosen by the readers.
I know, the readers are morons.
Well,
Wow. Isn't that us?
this just came out, right? Like, this
Yeah.
is new.
Yeah, it just came out the
Okay.
other day.
So there's there's probably more people that read Newsarama that were around when Kingdom Come came out
Yeah,
than when Dark Knight came out.
it's true.
So Dark Knight, it kind of falls into that love of nostalgia. What I'm surprised is Watchmen's not on that.
Well, this is DC Universe. I don't think Watchmen counts.
Isn't Watchmen in the DC
It's
universe?
technically Charlton Heroes. It wasn't until recently in the DC Universe.
Right.
Hmm,
But
okay.
I don't know. That surprises me that Watchmen's not on that list.
But I don't think it was included because I think it's supposed to be like DC kind of like continuity type stuff.
Right.
DC comic stories of all time. I don't know if I consider Watchmen. And why is Crisis still so high?
Well, that might.
I mean,
that's because that just
nostalgia?
blows a hole in my theory.
It does blow a hole in your theory. I think these are like DC fanboys who love like Crisis and Kingdom Come. They just want their Superman and Batman and Flash and whatever.
No, I mean, I would agree that Kingdom Come should probably be in the top 10, but
I don't think it'd be number one.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't be for me. It's a cool story.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
cool.
Yeah.
Whose turn is it?
Yours.
Okay. All right. Let's do Black Sad.
I didn't even know. Is that all of them?
This is
All the hardcovers?
Yeah. I don't know if it's.
I didn't know they did a soft cover.
Yeah, it's only like $30, and I didn't have the hardcovers.
Because I think there's only 3 hardcovers and maybe 2 stories in each, so that might be all of it. But
yeah, I think it is because it's got. I thought the hardcovers are just one story.
okay, I think a couple of them were, but I think the last one was like 2 or 3 short stories.
The first 2, and then Red Soul, but then I thought Silent Hell was its own book.
It might have been.
And then Amarillo.
And there might even be 4 of them. I don't know.
There might be 4. But yeah, this is pretty much all of it, I believe. Black Sad. This is European comics.
It's fucking good is what it is.
It is fucking good. I mean, the great thing about European comics is they don't mess around with the art.
No, it's like...
Yeah,
it's like...
They do.
Friggin' Disney, man.
It's like friggin'... So, Black Sad is basically a, like, I don't know, 30s, 40s, 50s detective type yarn. Like,
yeah, it's like...
Your hard-boiled detective. He's like, you know...
Whatever you are.
But it's all anthropomorphic, so all the characters are like animals or whatever,
wow.
you know.
I can't even remember that word.
Anthropomorphic. Yeah. I can remember it. I just can't say it most of the time.
So the first story is like super simple. Like it's just like you know, this girl I used to hang with or date or was lovers with got murdered. Now I'm investigating the murder, and there's a slightly small conspiracy that he has to uncover, type of thing. Okay, but the art's amazing. Then the second story, it's like more of like a racism. Like it's so funny because they're like cats, but they're racist, like against white cats versus black cats versus white animals versus black animals. And there's like it's like a KKK type of analogy thing. So that one was pretty good. And then the third one was more like a Red Scare, like a, you know, McCarthyism type of story. So I mean, he takes like these cool periods of American history and like throws his character in there and like throws some twists and some turns. And so yeah, I mean, the greatest thing about this book is the art. I mean, the stories are pretty decent. They have fun little twists and turns, and he kind of, it's so funny because it's a European book, right? But like, it feels so Americana because it like talks about like one of the stories is about like this jazz musician guy who like gets wrapped up in something. And it's so Americana, but yet it's done by these 2 European. Well, I think one of the guys is Brazilian or something, isn't he? I don't know. No, Spanish. I think he's Spanish. Sorry. I get my Spaniards and my Brazilians mixed up. But anyway, art is amazing. Story is pretty good. It's definitely entertaining. It's not like anything innovative, but really the story the shining star for me is the art.
Yeah. What's the
Amazeballs?
I can't even think of the guy's name. What's the other one? The other series, but it's it's like anthropomorphic and it's kind of in the same vein. And they're hard.
Oh, it's
and I can't think of the
one that the guy did Luther Arkwright did.
Yes.
Brian Talbot.
Granville. It's weird because those both kind of came out around the same time.
Similar.
And Granville's, at least I remember.
Granville's kind of like an alternate history type thing, isn't it? A little bit
yeah,
more.
but it's anthropomorphic.
It
also.
is anthropomorphic,
and the art's kind of.
I would say the art's way different, but. They're both anthropomorphic.
Yeah, maybe it's just the anthropomorphism.
That makes definitely
me lump them together. Yeah. But they seem to have come out around the same time.
Yeah, they have different. They definitely have a similar feel.
But that art's really cool too. It's definitely not because I have those. Do you have the Granville stuff?
I think I have them digitally. I never bought them. Same with these Black Sad. Like I had the first couple digitally, but then I saw this collection.
Right.
And they didn't have my Superman books. So I wanted me to substitute something. So
you got Black Sad.
Yeah.
Black Sad.
Yeah, this is super good. But and the stories are just long enough not to get like drawn out or boring. Like they're just. It's kind of like Sin City if it was like anthropomorphic, but not quite as dark. You know, it's a little more like 50s or whatever. But I thought it was really cool how they had like all these kind of American type history thing. Like, you got the KKK, you got McCarthyism, you got,
Considering it's a
jazz.
European.
Yeah, considering it's European.
Yeah. I was just thinking.
Yeah.
You guys think that the Silver Age stuff is brutal. Just wait till I find enough time, if we're still doing the podcast, and I actually start reading the archives.
Oh, you
and I'm
won't
doing
ever
the
read
Golden
the
Age
archives.
stuff. Like the first Batman comics and the first Superman comics.
It won't happen. You got so much stuff to read, dude. You'll never get to that stuff.
That's probably true.
It is kind of weird. Like, I was thinking about, like, I told you I've been recataloging all of my comics.
Yeah.
And it's always been, like, I've thought about this for probably 10 years or maybe even longer. At some point, it would be cool / interesting experiment to sit down and just start on long box number 1.
Yeah, and you start reading.
And just read everything.
I think I started to
own.
try and do that one point where I was just going to start reading all my comics, like in the long boxes. But then I realized, no. But yeah, at one point I tried to do that. I've tried all sorts of weird different... At one point I was going to read all the Marvel comics, starting with like Fantastic Four number 1. Like in the order that they were published or whatever, you know?
Holy shit.
But I got like... I was like, oh, these early Iron Mans are bad. You know, it's like, some of these books are bad.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's probably true too.
God
Well,
Country,
writing-
you read... I can't remember if I gave you God Country.
Yes, you did.
Country.
Yes, you did. It's good. Donny Cates.
Jeff Shaw.
Yeah, I don't know that there's. Maybe my hopes were a little higher than.
Well,
what
they
it
got
is,
such good
but
quotes on it, like a truly stunning
Yeah.
debut, 10 out of 10.
I know.
And then they got like Phil Hester, God Country is the real deal, and God help you if you
Yeah,
miss it. Brian Michael Bendis, so much fun to watch creators find that next level. Go, Cates, go. I mean, it's a little dramatic.
It really is. I mean, I'm thinking this is like the next,
Like the next Walking Dead or something,
Well,
right?
I don't know. I thought it was going to take like Thor and some other type stuff, and the kind of Viking god idea to a next level or something. I'm not sure, but
But it's fairly basic, right?
yeah.
Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy.
Okay.
I mean, it's good.
It's good. It's really
and
well
and
executed.
it moves at a
interesting.
really crazy ass pace.
Yeah,
I think
it's
overall,
a super good comic. It's just not like
But I don't know that there's anything like
groundbreaking.
There you go. Very good way to put it. Nothing really groundbreaking about it. Just an enjoyable yarn to kind of fill in some stuff. And doesn't.
Let's see, if I read it, it would be a nostalgia factor for me. 'Cause
Oh,
I
that's
would be
true.
rereading it.
What-
I would be reliving my...
I think part of
I
my
would
problem.
be reliving my 5 years ago.
Really? Is that when it came out?
I don't know.
Oh my god.
Probably within
Yeah, like
the
5
last...
years ago. Maybe.
Jeez. Okay.
So
Within the
Cates
last
and
3 to
Shaw
5
did a
years.
fun like Thanos run that I read like just a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed that. And I think Shaw was actually doing better work because he's obviously it was after this, right?
Okay.
And so I think he got better. And so I went back here. I was like, well, I really enjoyed the thing they did after this, and I thought it was like even better than what this
Than
was.
what
So I
this
kind of
was.
felt like
This is
stepping
like a
back little
precursor
bit.
in some way. Like they're kind of
Yeah.
finding their way a little bit.
It
or
almost had
finding some
similar.
voice.
2017.
It almost had a similar structure and themes the Thanos story did to this a little
Oh,
bit.
really?
So I don't know. It's kind of tricky.
The trade was printed in August of 2017. What is it, 5 or 6 issues?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's probably
So
six
it was
issues or
probably
Like 3
started
years ago.
early
Yeah.
early 2017 it came out. So,
Yeah.
it's close.
I mean, there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing bad with it.
it's a really
A guy
good book.
inherits a sword and has to go take out an alternate universe or something weird and fun with that and the craziness that ensues. And
Doesn't the old man have like Alzheimer's?
he's got
Yeah,
Alzheimer's.
and the sword
yeah,
cures him of
and
that.
the sword cures him of that.
So he doesn't want to give
He's
it
kind
up.
of making that last stand, for his family, and other things. And his son, has to then, that comes to help, carry the burden, type stuff. Has an interesting ending, I guess, in some
Draws on the
respects.
heartstrings.
Once again, I can't remember the name.
Well, yeah, because it's
it really
almost
gets you right there in the ticker, man.
forgettable. And maybe that's part of the thing. It didn't really have maybe that emotional,
Yeah, it definitely did it for me. here.
type of thing as much. And maybe that's because my father didn't hold up a giant sword against some alternate, universe's, dictator or something. I'm not sure.
Not all dads
But
can do that.
I know exactly, but I think a lot of it is kind of a tale, though, that's trying to do, about family and taking life, as what you got here and now a little bit, and some of it is, trying to live life, I think, to the fullest of what you have, and don't take for granted what you got, and things.
Yeah, I think it's really well done, and it's got great themes, and I think it's well executed. I just would say, instead of 10 out of 10, I give it like 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Because there again, Cates there's a good writer, so, I mean, he knows pacing and things of this nature, and how to keep the thing moving, I feel like. Where I kind of ding Middlewest a little bit to being rushed. I never really felt like this was rushed. I felt it was just going, right there, boom, boom, boom. But I felt it was more in that type of, you could tell it was a mini series, type of thing from the get-go. And, sometimes things like that are almost like, hey, here you go with something, that's, a Netflix season-long type of thing. Here's something that's a Netflix movie, or whatever else. Right, which we know it's that it wants to move and build some characters in a natural form, but also it knows that there's an end game that's coming, Right. So that, like I say, there's nothing necessarily bad about it, but I didn't know that there was anything that was exactly great about it either.
Yeah,
it's a story.
It wasn't like next level. It was just a really solid, a good comic.
Yeah.
But
along with that, it's a fast read, so I'm glad you let me borrow it there.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's, like I said, it's a good book.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you can knock out in an hour easy.
Yeah. Easy. And I do like how they did some, like, what do they call it? Spot UV on the little sword on the cover.
Yeah. Did you see...
That's some next level stuff.
Did you see that Rug did that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle black light thing?
Ooh.
Did you get to see how much it is?
No, how much is it?
$500.
$5.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
$75.
75. That's
for
it?
Print.
Sort of like
it's a black light.
It's a black light.
Oh, it's a print, though.
Poster print, yeah.
It's a print, not a poster? How big is it?
12 by 18 or
That's
something-ish, maybe.
For $75?
I could be wrong.
Cool. Hey, if you can give it.
Okay, Don, your turn with Punisher.
Yeah, I guess, dude, this is another. Hey, I remember reading this back in whenever. Let's check this out because it's Starlin and Wrightson and it's Punisher. It's got to be good.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
It's Punisher.
And
It's good.
huh?
Is it good?
It's not bad for a Punisher story. I mean,
Starlin
writes it. Wrightson draws it.
It doesn't look like Wrightson.
I know it doesn't, but as it goes, it gets more into like monstery type stuff, and you can kind of see the Wrightson kind of come through on it. But it's the first part of 4 issues. It's the
Watch out, that's signed.
It's 25% of the story.
Bernie Wrightson's dead.
He is dead.
Oh,
and you know what? His freaking autograph is beautiful. You know what I mean?
It is very nice.
Like,
Yeah.
not like Jim Starlin.
Who's just scribbled
like
some shit.
some of the people now who just scribble crap on there. Like he actually signed it and like made it really nice. Some of these, like I said, I've been going through doing stuff, and a lot of times I try to put tags on them when I get them, just so I know where it was and like when and who it is. But man, there's some of them where I have no idea who the fuck it is, and I'm like, I've got to.
Hence the reason you tagged him.
Try to figure out who on there I would have gotten the autograph from and
Why
who
on
it
earth
is.
did I have Scotty Young sign this?
Right. But and some of them I just can't figure. I just have to guess. But anyway, excuse me. So this is probably in the 80s or whatever. But so the Punisher is obviously he's like,
My Bernie Wrightson signature's nice too.
yeah,
Look at that.
It is.
nice.
Nice. What the hell? You got up and...
I don't know. He just had to show me he had a
He just
Bernie
did,
Wrightson
I
autograph
guess.
also. Ooh, look, I have one too.
Well, I
Hung
just
up on
couldn't
his
remember what I had him
wall.
sign.
Right, I know.
And so it was.
So anyway, he's on a stakeout of this place, and there's these 2 guys, and they They just got out of prison, but
This is one of 4, dude.
I know.
Where's the other 3?
I haven't read them yet.
Oh my god! You gonna read one a week like I did?
He's not gonna read
I'm like halfway through number 2.
Oh, okay.
But anyway.
Dude, don't open that. You're gonna mess up the front.
But anyway, so there's these 2 guys that get out of prison. They were radical, like in the '60s, and they made bombs, and they were in that whatever you call it, like radical
Black
whatever,
Panther group,
Black Panther type of stuff. But political, extremist, whatever. They get out of prison and they like the Punisher's staking out this warehouse because it's where drugs and guns are going through. And he sees these guys come in, but they don't walk out with any guns or drugs, so he kind of doesn't pay attention to them. And then he goes in and takes out those people. Well, then they were actually there to get like they were there to get explosives. So these 2 guys are going around and they're like, they're trying to get their bank built up so they can keep their 60s revolution thing going. So they start robbing banks and they blow up banks to get the guys to give them money. Well, they're screwing around, and one of the guys who's building the bombs, they're like in their apartment, hotel, whatever, and the bomb goes off while the guy's working on it. Kills that guy, and it really F's up the other guy, but he still lives. But he's like running out of the burning building, and he's like deformed, scarred, or burnt or whatever. And he's like, I remember. And he's carrying around the other dude's head.
He's
with
a pirate?
him. Yeah.
Oh.
He's carrying around the other dude's head with him. Like, he's got the dude's decapitated head with him, but he's like, oh, I remember. He's like, I remember down in the sewers, I used to hide out down in those. So he goes down into the sewers, and he's trying to get somewhere particular. Well, there's a chemical
20.
There's a chemical company that's doing secret work for the government or whatever, and they think that, I don't remember, somehow they get caught, and he's like, or no, it's like not stable, like it starts mutating, and the guy's like, flush it, get rid of it, and start over. And they're like, what do you just dump it in the sewers? He's like, it's gonna affect all the animals and everything down in the sewers. And he's like, who cares? He's like, just get it. It'll run out into the stream, and it'll dissipate, and blah 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 blah. Well, this guy just happens to be in the sewer, and he gets doused with this stuff. So he's burnt and jacked up, and now he's blasted with this mutant gene altering whatever chemical. And so after they flush it, the guy sends a team down into the sewer and says, go down there and get anything you can find so we can use it for research. Well, they stumble across this guy. They bring him back up. And it just so happens that this guy is the CEO's son that they did this. So they're running experiments on him. And then he gets loose. And then the Punisher figures out what's going on. And so now he's hunting that guy. And then there's also another guy in here. And he's like not playing with the full deck. He like lives at home with mom. He sits around and watches TV. He's a big guy, so he just sits around and eats junk food all the time and watches like Geraldo Rivera on TV and stuff. But he's slowly going crazy because he thinks that like vampires are back and like all this shit's real. So he's like a monster hunter. So he's going out on his own, going out trying to hunt down, because he sees his mom as a monster, like a monster, you know what I mean? Like he sees people as monsters. So he's going out on his own thing. So that's kind of where we're at in the story. And the Punisher's caught up in the middle of it, trying to track down these guys. And then Nick Fury gets involved in it at some point. So, I mean, you got to bring in Nick Fury, right?
And of course.
Like in the 80s or whenever that thing came out. But anyway, that's the story. Punisher POV.
Cool. The problem with the art is the coloring sucks. Like, if you look at the cover, it's awesome because the coloring is really good.
Yeah.
But since they had it on the matte paper and they didn't know how to do computer coloring yet,
Yeah.
or very well. It just doesn't look.
Well,
as
this
good.
is before computer coloring and everything.
Well, surely that would. Oh no, you're right. That was probably painted or something. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like it's the coloring that's off because they don't have the palette that they
I
have
see.
like on the cover. Like if they had the palette that they had on the cover and they could do that, then it would look freaking awesome. Because that hooky book that I just showed that I had signed, like it's on the glossy paper and they really colored it well, and it really looks good.
This is on newsprint.
Well, it's not really newsprint. It's like that thicker matte paper.
Yeah.
Let me go grab the hooky. I'll show you.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. It's almost like Dark Knight palette
Yeah,
coloring.
see how like hooky has the has all the coloring.
Yeah, that almost looks painted.
Yeah, and it may be, but if they had painted that book, I think it would have looked a lot better.
Well, yeah, you know how much that would have cost?
Because this says colored by Bernie and Michelle Wrightson, so his wife and him colored it, whereas that was some other colorist.
Bill Ray. Yeah.
Bill Ray did it, but
This is actually 91. So I don't know. Didn't Image kind of...
they kind of did some of it.
Didn't Image kind of bring in the
This
age
is
of-
88. So, I mean, they could have done it. They just didn't spend the money to,
Put
like,
some of that computerized.
on whatever. However, I mean, this may be painted, no doubt. But however they colored it, they didn't spend the money to color it like this.
Right.
They color it like that. And I think that Bernie Wrightson's art loses something when
Yeah,
you do that.
I don't know.
In my
I don't know. I'm not real
I don't know
technical. I'm not up on coloring techniques. And
Yeah. Jim Rugg did a really interesting thing in his newsletter or something about coloring, like a history of the coloring or whatever.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
I would like to read that because I've always been interested in it.
Well, you can read it. I think I have it. I think I copied it because I thought it was so interesting.
I mean, it's definitely going for its own style. I mean, it's almost like, I don't know. It reminds me a lot of Dark Knight, coloring wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's got that Dark Knight coloring palette almost, with a lot of these. I mean, that really reminisces the greens and the that
certain style there.
yeah, I mean, there's some that are, that really kind of reminds me of Dark Knight. I don't know. I might just have Dark Knight on my mind, but
Right. No, it's very similar. So, anyway.
But 91 might be right on the verge of digital, because
Sure.
I know Image was 92 and they were doing pretty much everything.
I think it's more of
digital.
a paper quality and what they decided to spend on doing the coloring.
Yeah.
I mean, this was 88 and it's on that Baxter paper, the thicker, glossy paper.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just holds the color differently, I think. So I really don't think it's necessarily... It doesn't have to be computer colored. It's just however they decide to do it.
Look at that. Signed by Jim Starlin and Bernie Wrightson. San Diego, 2008.
Or maybe Bernie Wrightson was like, I'll do this Punisher story, but I'm not going to paint it because I'm not going to spend that much time on this crap.
Well, yeah, and it's 4 issues, whereas
yeah,
that's
a graphic novel. So,
that's
I mean,
a graphic novel.
I'm sure it's... Essex County. We got Tales from the Farm, Ghost Stories, and The Country Nurse.
Is that the entire?
The entire trilogy.
Yes. Okay. So
They are interconnected graphic novels. So the first one's about
were
this...
they only published in graphic novel form, or were they in?
No, they're only
individual?
graphic novel form.
Okay. Okay.
I believe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it was not single issued.
Okay. Okay.
OGNs, baby. So the first one's about this kid. His mom has died of cancer. He has to go live with his uncle on the farm. He really likes superheroes, and he makes his own superhero comics. But his uncle's really into hockey. He's not really that into hockey. But he goes to the corner, gas station and buys some comics, and the cool guy who works behind the counter, his name is Jimmy LaBouffe. He was a former, pro hockey player. He played one game in, the NHL, but then he got injured, but he scored, a goal, and that's, his claim to fame. Anyway, he gives the kid some free comics, and the kid kind of bonds with him. He's not so much bonding with his uncle, who just wants him to do shit on the farm, which he's not really into. But anyway.
Is anybody though really?
Exactly.
Farmer.
So
Is he
that's
really?
the story. And then he starts having these weird, he goes down to the creek, and him and the guy from the gas station like meet up, and they like have these adventures, like they play around, like there's aliens invading and stuff. But then it takes this weird turn where you think that it's all in his head, and that guy from the gas station really isn't coming down to play with him. He's just like imagining it. So I'm trying to remember how this one ends. So anyway, it just kind of nothing really happens. Like, I guess the kid grows up a little bit and realizes that guy is just kind of an imaginary friend, and he kind of hangs. He always wears this like superhero mask and a cape. At the end of the issue, at the end of the book, he kind of hangs it up like he's grown up a little bit and decided to maybe move past some of that stuff.
Move on, yeah.
So then we got the second one, which total left turn. It's about this like super old guy who's like got Alzheimer's, can't remember shit or whatever, and his people are taking care of him. And actually, no, that's not this one. Oh yeah, it is. Anyway, super old dude. He's got this nurse taking care of him. But turns out that he also played hockey. And his brother was like a really good hockey player. And so it flashes back to when they started playing hockey like in the 50s. Their name is also LaBouffe, the same as the guy who worked at the gas station.
Shiloh?
Yes, exactly. It's the same thing. But this is all about like their hockey careers. And then his little brother comes and plays on his hockey team because the older brother's already playing. He comes to the big city from the farm. They lived on a farm. And the little brother has a girlfriend, and they're planning to get married, blah, blah, blah. And his little brother's really good. The team starts doing really well. But the little brother just wants to play hockey for a little bit, and then he wants to go back to the farm. He doesn't want to make like a career out of it or anything. Anyway, as something happens, like one night, they like win a game, and they're hanging out, and the little brother who has a girlfriend, he falls asleep, and the big brother, he goes up, and him and the little brother's boy or girlfriend go up to the like top of the roof, and they have sex or whatever. So he cheats with whatever. He cheats on his little brother with his little brother's girlfriend or whatever. But it's a one-time thing, and then they leave town like the next day, and then it talks more about this guy's life, and turns out that the guy and the little brother and his girlfriend move back to the farm, and they get married, they have kids, blah, 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 but there's always this thing. And so the little brother and big brother stop talking to each other because of this thing that happened, you know. So, and he stops talking to like all his family. He lives in the city, and he starts driving like a bus.
The older one?
The older one, yeah. And so he's like, it's kind of about him flashing back, and he's an old man. He's like in a nursing home, and he can't remember. He's got Alzheimer's, and he's all confused. And it just kind of goes through his life and how he kind of effed it up, kind of. And eventually, his little brother and his wife have like a daughter, and then that daughter has a son, I believe. Yeah, that daughter has a son. And then the little brother and his wife get in a car accident, and the wife dies, and the little brother gets injured, and they're old men there. So they're like two old men, brothers, taking care of each other, but the one's like in a wheelchair and the other one's losing his mind or whatever, you know. So it's basically about their depressing friggin' life or whatever. So anyway.
Wow, how does it end?
Well,
they die?
Well, he kind of is sitting on his porch and just it fades out. Kinda.
Okay.
Well, it is Lemire. Lemire, so you know.
But the little brother did die. But the older brother lived a little bit longer, and he's in a home, but he's trying to live on his own, and he's on the farm and whatever, you know. Third book.
Whatever.
So as I'm reading the second book, I'm like, LaBouffe. Wasn't the guy in the first book the guy who worked at the gas station? His name was LaBouffe. So I'm trying to figure out what the connection is, right? Because one's like in like the 90s, and this one's back in the 50s, and both these old dudes are dead. They don't got any kid named Jimmy LaBouffe. So I'm like, what the fuck? You know, so I can't figure it out. I'm like, whatever. I'm like going back to this book, like flipping. It's like,
didn't
what?
you say that daughter in this one had a son?
Yeah, so we get to the country nurse.
Now it all makes
So that's about the nurse who's taking care of that old dude in the second book.
Okay.
And then it's kind of about her life, and she's got her own little story that they kind of... And then she runs into the kid from the first book who now likes hockey and like plays hockey, and he's bonded with his uncle who took him in after his mom died of cancer. He's a little more grown up, and you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, then the big twist is that the guy at the gas station is actually that boy's father. The boy from the first book, because he was with the mom who died in the car wreck, but then he fucked it up and abandoned him or whatever and didn't take responsibility. So when the mom died, she asked her brother Kenny to take care of her son, even though the dad was working at the gas station just down the street or whatever. You know? So I'm trying to figure all this out. I'm like flipping back to the old books, and then freaking Lemire, like a freaking jackass, he puts a family tree in there and explains the whole thing.
Hey, all right.
I'm like, dude, if I knew that was there, I would have been racking my brain trying to put all these pieces together.
There you go. Cool.
Because it's all jumping around in time and all that. So anyway, it all kind of comes together. But it's a cool story about these 3 different sort of situations that all kind of intertwine and interact. You know, it's kind of like a Stray Bulls thing. You know.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool. You know. Apparently, I read a lot of like slice of life. Like Daytripper was about this dude and his whole life, and this is about these characters and how they go through their whole life. And
Ghost Stories is the second of 3 interconnecting graphic novels set in a fictionalized version of cartoonist Jeff Lemire's hometown.
Yes,
right there.
Well, I knew they're connected.
Interconnecting graphic novels.
I understand that, and I was trying to figure out where the connections were. Like I picked up on the LaBouffe name. I'm just trying to figure out, how does this dude at the gas station connect to these other people? And I'm trying to you know, and so I knew they were interconnected. I was trying to figure out what the connections were. And he didn't really reveal it towards the end, and then he laid it all out in a page of a family tree. So anyway, it's pretty cool. Pretty well done. It's Lemire. It's not super depressing at the end, though. Like, it kind of has a happy ending.
Oh, yay.
So, you know, got pretty well. It's Essex County. I think that's like Lemire's first kind of major work, I believe. It's like the first thing
he won the Zurich Award for Lost Dog and did
Lost Dogs was the first one, and then he did this.
I don't know if Lost Dogs was a major work, but...
Well, no, it's a graphic novel, though. I'll give you that one. So,
it says it in this book.
Oh, damn. You shouldn't even have said that. I just would have been bowing to your wisdom again, Don.
But I didn't think this one had some depressing parts, but I felt like
we had this discussion. I can't remember shit.
Had some uplifting parts too. But anyway, that's all I had to talk about. I read a couple of the graphics.
You don't want to talk about those ones?
Nah, I wasn't very impressed. It was exciting. So there you go.
Yay.
Anything else? My phone is dying. So.
I'm done.
All right, cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.